At her daughter's kindergarten opening ceremony, Lena suddenly stepped onto the stage and started dancing. As she danced, she kept her eyes on Miho. Their eyes met for a second. Miho looked away first, but his gaze soon returned to the stage. At first, Miho's wife, Sura, just watched. Her expression barely changed. Then someone beside her leaned in and said the woman on stage was Lena, another parent at the school. Sura's expression slowly darkened. When the music stopped, Miho stayed seated and didn't get up right away. The ceremony ended, and the principal went straight to Sura and Miho. The Han family had given the kindergarten more money than anyone else. People were already gathered around Sura and Miho. But when Lena walked into the banquet hall holding her daughter's hand, more eyes started turning her way. The parents there weren't ordinary parents. Lena's daughter had only just enrolled. But the girl had already been placed in the school's most talked about class. The parents nearby started guessing who Lena was. Some said she might be connected to a powerful conglomerate. Others quietly tried to figure out which family Lena came from. Sura saw all those eyes shift toward Lena, and her own face grew even colder. Miho looked back at Lena too. Lena didn't stay off to the side and let people size her up. She walked straight over and sat down among the group of wealthy wives. She settled in like she belonged there. At the table, Lena mentioned that she was also a member of the SA club. The women looked skeptical. Lena added that she'd joined years ago. Her mother had been a member for a long time too. Their expressions changed right away. They picked the conversation right back up, and a few of them even praised Lena for being young and beautiful. Lena kept talking with them easily, and the tension at the table started to ease. The principal was still talking to Sura, but Sura was already looking over at Lena. Lena didn't say much. She just told her daughter to go play with Sura's daughter. Then she had the nanny take the two girls to the playroom. When the adults looked over again, the two children were already getting along. Lena looked young, so the women started asking about her husband. Lena only said he worked at a regular company. The women's attitude softened a little after that. Her jewelry wasn't flashy. She chose her words carefully. Sitting there among them, she didn't look out of place at all. Lena didn't rush over to Sura. She stayed where she was and listened. It didn't take long before they started talking about Sura. They said she was arrogant, and that she rarely tried to get close to the other parents. Lena listened, then stood up and walked toward Miho. As Lena passed Miho, she slowed down and let her wrist go slack. The bracelet slipped to the floor. Miho looked down and saw it. Before Miho could say anything, Lena's husband hurried over with a bouquet. He apologized and said work had kept him from making it to the performance. Lena didn't say a word. She just took the flowers and went with her husband into the performer's lounge. When Lena came out again, she was holding her husband's arm. She kept holding onto him as she walked past Miho and went back into the banquet hall. The moment Sura saw the two children together, her face changed. Sura scolded her daughter. She said she would decide who the girl was allowed to be friends with. Lena was right behind Sura and heard everything. But Lena didn't respond right there. She simply walked forward with her husband. Then she greeted Sura and Miho. As soon as Lena's husband spoke, he brought up Miho's old job. The two men had known each other years ago. Now, after all those years, Lena's husband was still an ordinary office worker. Miho had already become chairman of a conglomerate. Lena met Miho's eyes again. This time, she stepped closer and greeted him with a smile. Sura's face stayed cold. Miho, though, kept looking at Lena. He didn't look away until Sura spoke. Miho reached for a glass of champagne. At the same moment, Lena reached for the same one. The moment only lasted a second. None of the adults nearby noticed. Only Lena's daughter saw what happened. Miho said nothing. He simply pulled his hand back. On the first official school day, Miho's family arrived at the gate. The principal and teachers were already waiting to welcome them. No family had given the school more money than the Han family. The principal and teachers crowded around them. The other parents could only stand back and wait. No one dared cut in. Lena also got out of her car at the school gate. She immediately recognized the middle-aged man. He was standing beside the Han family. The man with the widest smile was Damon. Years ago, Damon had forced Lena's father to sign a false confession. Even now, Lena could still picture Damon turning back and sneering at the hospital. She reached out and gripped the railing beside her. The railing dug into her palm, but she still didn't let go. Lena looked up at the portrait hanging by the school gate. The man in that portrait was Chairman Han, Sura's father. This was the man who had destroyed Lena's whole family. Now, he was being honored at the school entrance. People praised him like some great philanthropist. People around Lena were still fawning over the Han family. Some praised the new gymnasium and how grand it looked. Others were already asking whether the family would donate an equestrian center next. They also asked about Sura's daughter, but Sura only gave a few short, flat replies. Miho stood beside Sura with his head lowered the whole time. He never joined in. Lena went to the restroom and quickly treated the cut on her hand. When she came out, she ran into Miho, and they exchanged a brief greeting. Lena's expression didn't change at all, and she just walked past him. Miho stayed where he was, still looking in the direction she'd gone. Lena never looked back. Miho wasn't the only one who knew Lena was back. Taejun had heard the news too. Taejun had just finished promoting his new book. He had also become one of the youngest members of the National Assembly. A package had arrived, stuffed with cash. Lena's name was written on it. The moment Taejun saw that name, he froze. 13 years earlier, Taejun had sent Lena out of the country. And now, after vanishing for all those years, Lena was back. 13 years ago, Chairman Han wanted to take over LY Group, so he framed Lena's father for corporate espionage. But Lena's father never confessed, not even in his final moments. Lena watched her father's condition turn critical. Then she watched him pass away. That accusation was still hanging over him. Damon's sneer at the hospital had never left her mind. Lena was sent to the United States and stayed away for 13 years. Now she was back. This time, Lena was coming for the Han family. Before Lena could get close to the Han family, she built herself a new identity. Now she had a husband and a daughter. She also had a woman living under the same roof, posing as her mother. To everyone else, she looked like an ordinary housewife. But none of it was real. Lena had arranged it all herself. The woman she called her mother was not her real mother. And the man posing as her husband was only there to help her get close to the Han family. Even the marriage was part of Lena's plan from the beginning. Chairman Han wanted Nancy taught by his rules. He pushed her to pick up the writing crop. Nancy was too scared to move. Even with Sura urging her on, Nancy only tapped the floor lightly. Chairman Han was immediately displeased. He even brought up Sura's childhood and compared Nancy to Sura as a child. Nancy got so frightened she wet herself on the spot. Sura was afraid Chairman Han would look down on Nancy even more. So she quickly took Nancy into the restroom. But the second the door closed, Sura turned on Nancy. She demanded an explanation, barely holding back her anger. Nancy cried and said she did not want to hit the horse because it would hurt. Sura snapped back, asking if Nancy really wanted her grandfather to think she was useless. That only made Nancy cry harder. LY Group used to belong to Lena's father. Years ago, the Han family took it from him. Now Miho was running it, but Chairman Han still never fully trusted him. Chairman Han feared Miho would slip out of his control once he secured his position. He was also afraid the past would be exposed. So Chairman Han brought Damon directly into LY Group and made him vice chairman. Miho knew he could not stop it, so he had no choice but to agree. Chairman Han now had someone inside the company watching Miho. As soon as dinner was over, Miho finally said what he had been holding back. Miho said the vice chairman seat should not be handed to an outsider so easily. But Sura still took her father's side and told Miho to let it go. Miho said nothing after that. The kindergarten was choosing a new parent representative. In previous years, the role had always gone to Sura because she donated the most money. But this time, Lena wanted it for herself. Before the vote, she quietly switched Nancy's backpack with another child's. The teacher soon started suggesting that Sura should keep the role. But several parents in the audience already looked unhappy. Then, the parent sitting beside Sura opened the backpack, thinking it belonged to her own child. Instead, she pulled out a pack of diapers. The whole place went silent. Sura's expression changed instantly. Once the diaper incident spread, Nancy's classmates quickly started making fun of her. Nancy got angry and shoved another child. In the process, she accidentally scratched a little boy's face. The boy's parent lost it immediately. Sura's bodyguards and assistant rushed in to shield Nancy. The room quickly fell into chaos. The teacher came over to break it up. She suggested taking the injured boy away first so his wound could be treated. The moment Sura heard that, her expression darkened. She turned and walked straight into the principal's office. Inside, she forced the teacher to pick a side. Then she demanded that the principal fire the teacher. She also wanted the boy's family kicked out of the school. The principal did not dare offend Sura or the boy's family. So the situation went nowhere. Lena stepped forward and said she had a way to calm things down. With no better option, the principal let her handle it. Now Lena had control of the situation. Just like that, Lena became the temporary parent representative. She also used that chance to arrange a meeting with Miho. When they met, Miho looked calm on the surface. But his attention was already fixed on Lena. Sura usually forced her way through problems. Lena did the opposite and stayed calm and in control. Then she gently steered the conversation back to the children. She reminded Miho that the boy was not the only child who had been hurt. Nancy had been badly shaken too. This time, Miho listened. That calmness changed the way Miho saw her. For the first time, he really noticed her. After returning home, Sura took all her anger out on the bodyguards. Miho ignored Sura and went straight to comfort Nancy. He even suggested that Nancy and Lena's daughter Lily should take ballet together. The second Nancy heard she could see her new friend again, she brightened up. She would get to see Lena too. Lena did not slow down. Lena was secretly gathering information on Miho. She was also reaching out to the injured boy's parents in private and calming them down. Soon, she had secured her place among the parents. After that, she had Lily invite Nancy over to the house. That gave Lena another chance to get closer to Miho. As soon as Miho learned Nancy was at Lena's house, he went there himself to pick her up. Lena came out looking more polished than usual, with Nancy holding her hand. Nancy had a wonderful time there. She even said she wanted to come back the next day. Miho agreed right away. After the driver put Nancy in the car, Miho gave Lena back her bracelet. Lena acted delighted, as if she had just gotten something precious back. She said it had belonged to her late father and meant a great deal to her. Then she deliberately fiddled with the bracelet a few times. It looked like she simply could not fasten it. Miho offered to help. Lena lowered her eyes and held out her hand. The instant his fingertips touched her wrist, Miho stiffened. The car pulled away. The smile on Lena's face disappeared. Back inside, Lena barely even looked at the bracelet. Then the man who was only her husband on paper pushed the door open and walked in. She quickly hid the bracelet. Then she slipped back into the role everyone in that house expected her to play. After that, Miho started coming to Lena's dance studio himself. No matter how busy he was, he came to pick up his daughter. He said he was there for Nancy. But really, he wanted to see Lena. One day, while Nancy was in the restroom, Miho and Lena stood off to the side. They talked for a while. Later, Lena sat down and played a piece of music for him. The moment the music began, Miho's face changed. It was as if the music had brought back an old memory he did not want to face. When he finally started to calm down, Lena pushed a little further. She invited him to dance the tango with her. She told him that during this dance, his eyes had to stay on his partner. That night, after he got home, Lena stayed on his mind. He could not settle down. In the end, he walked into Sura's bedroom. He and Sura had been sleeping apart for years. Taejun had also been tracking Lena for a long time. He finally managed to get a photo of her. The face in that picture looked almost exactly like the Lena he remembered. That clue led him to the dance studio. There, he called her Lena. But Lena stayed calm and denied being Lena. She said she was Seonmi, not the person he was looking for. The certificates and photos on the walls all showed the name Seonmi. Just then, Lily arrived too. So did Sunja, the woman posing as Lena's mother. The family in front of Taejun looked complete. Everything looked convincing. Even Taejun started to waver. He had no choice but to leave. But the second he was gone, Lena's expression changed. Sunja worried that Taejun might ruin everything. Lena said Taejun was suspicious, but he still had not found the truth. After Taejun left, Lena went up alone to the second floor of the villa. She unlocked a hidden door with her fingerprint. Then she walked through a concealed passage and entered an underground room. The room was filled with surveillance equipment. The screen showed the Han family's every move in real time. When Taejun got home, he could not stop thinking about what he had seen. The more he thought, the more wrong it felt. He kept comparing the photo to the Lena he remembered. At last, he was sure. The woman in the dance studio was Lena. By then, Lena had already mapped out the Han family's tangled connections on the wall. She stared at that web for a long time. Finally, her eyes settled on Sura. Sura was still stuck on one thing. Miho had finally come back to her room. But Miho just sat there with a book in his hands. The only face he kept seeing was Lena's. The distance between Miho and Sura was no longer easy to hide. And it was only getting worse. Lena ordered an expensive limited edition bag in Miho's name. She even had Hayami's name engraved on the strap. The bag was sent to Hyami as an apology after Sura's daughter caused trouble. Hyami was curious how Lena knew her taste so well. Lena smoothly explained that she used to cover fashion shows. That was how she knew the brands so well and understood what different clients liked. The other women started to warm up to Lena too. Hyami accepted the gift, but she was still upset with Sura. Lena then said she might be able to help Hyami get even. This time, Lena sent Sura a pair of earrings in Hyami's name. The earrings made it look like the two women were starting to patch things up. Sura was unhappy at first. But after Lena talked to Sura for a bit, Sura's anger slowly eased. Lena kept steering the conversation toward things Sura liked. She went shoe shopping with Sura and helped her put outfits together. She also talked to Sura about old high society gossip and the people Sura hated most. The more Sura listened, the happier she got. She invited Lena to become the deputy representative at the elite kindergarten. She even told Lena to call her sister in private. Then Lena started teaching Sura how to get on Miho's good side. That night, tango music came on. Miho clearly did not want to join in, but he went along with it anyway. Sura and Miho were finally on good terms for once. So Sura invited Lena and her husband to the villa. Later, Sura said she still wanted another son. Her father had been pressuring her to have an heir as soon as possible. Soon after, Lena received a dinner invitation to Miho's villa. Miho had personally invited Lena and her husband. The moment Lena's husband heard that, he got excited. He could barely contain himself. But Sunja, the woman pretending to be Lena's mother, only cared about one thing. Once Lena got inside the villa, Sunja wanted her to find out where the account books were kept first. Sunja also wanted to know where the safe was. Sunja reminded Lena that Sura could turn on people in an instant. Lena could not afford to let her guard down. Right then, Miho called from his private number. Lena used the call as a chance to thank him. Then she tested the waters with one question. Could she and Miho meet alone once she got to the villa? Miho paused. He did not answer directly. He only said he was looking forward to the gathering. The second Sunja heard that, she realized what was going on. Miho was contacting Lena behind Sura's back. Before long, Lena and her husband arrived at Miho's luxury villa in the city center. Almost every guest there was a big name in that circle. Lena and her husband were the only company employees invited. Some people even joked in front of Sura that she had finally made a friend. Sura acted like she did not care. But Miho still could not help glancing at Lena. Lena walked off with her arm linked through her husband's. Then she looked back and gave Miho a small nod. Miho dropped his gaze right away. He was afraid someone might notice something was off. Once they sat down at the card table, Lena won the first few rounds. But each time, Lena gave Sura the credit. That made Sura very happy. But as the game went on, the chip stacks got messy. It became harder to tell who was ahead, and the table slowly grew tense. By the time that round ended, everyone was saying Lena's husband was a lucky man. No one noticed that Lena was the one really controlling the pace of the game. And the silent coordination between Lena and Miho was getting harder to hide. But the moment the card game ended, Miho got a phone call. His expression changed immediately. The call was about Mrs. Wu. She was in trouble. Mrs. Wu's situation looked almost exactly like what had happened with the female singer. Miho understood immediately. Chairman Han was warning him. Miho had been getting too close to Mrs. Wu. So Chairman Han went after her directly. In Chairman Han's eyes, any woman close to Miho could become the next target. Just then, Lena tried to get closer to him again. She told him plainly that they had been testing each other. But even then, they had still been drawn to each other. But Miho refused to accept it. He told her to her face that she had been testing him from the start. Then he said coldly that he did not need anyone to understand him. And he did not want her getting any closer. Before he walked away, he left her with one word, dangerous. At first, Lena did not understand why Miho had suddenly spoken so harshly. She just assumed her test had failed. Even so, she turned back and asked him something. If he really felt nothing for her, then why had he gone to her studio? Why had he invited her to the villa? And why had he contacted her from his private number? Miho said nothing. When Lena got back to the party, Sura saw how pale she looked. Sura immediately came over, worried. Lena quietly said she was not feeling well. Sura did not press further. But then Damon barged in, drunk and out of control. The instant Lena saw Damon, she froze. He was the man who had destroyed her family with his own hands. With Chairman Han backing him, Damon had never been afraid of Miho. Now Damon had noticed Lena too. so he went straight over to talk to her. Lena could not expose who she was, so she forced herself to stay calm and deal with him. Then she found an excuse and went up to the rooftop alone. One look at Damon's face brought Lena's childhood memories rushing back. She was so overwhelmed she could barely breathe. Miho happened to see Lena like that. Lena quickly kicked a piece of wood away. Then she covered the scrape on her leg with her skirt. Then she said softly that she had hurt her leg by accident. She turned to leave, but Miho grabbed her arm. Meanwhile, Taejun had uncovered another detail. Lena's current husband, Jaehyun, was also on her revenge list. 13 years earlier, he had found the seal in her house. He was the one who handed it over to her enemies. Sunja found out that Miho had seen Lena lose control. Sunja flew into a rage. She warned Lena about Miho. If he started to suspect anything, everything would get much harder. For the past 13 years, they had pretended to be mother and daughter. All that time, they had been lying low. Now, Miho had finally become their target. Early the next morning, Lena said she wanted to get some air. She left her husband and child behind and went to the music shop alone. She wanted to keep using music to get closer to Miho. So she came looking for the accordion piazzolla once used. But the owner told her that the instrument had already been reserved. The buyer had even left a blank check. The owner checked the name on the reservation. It was Miho. Then Miho walked into the shop alone. Lena was afraid he would figure out why she was really there. She turned to leave. But Miho went after her and stopped her. He asked Lena why she wanted that particular accordion. Lena said anyone who loved tango would want that instrument. After all, Piazzolla had once used it. But Miho did not believe her. He kept pressing, asking who she really was and what she was hiding. Lena gave no explanation. She just looked at him for a few seconds. Then she suddenly stepped forward and kissed him. Miho froze on the spot. Then Lena said what neither of them had admitted. All this time, neither of them had really let the other go. They might as well admit they were drawn to each other. This time, Miho did not push her away. After that night on the rooftop, something had changed. He had already started to let his guard down around Lena. The less he could read Lena, the harder it was to let her go. But he still asked one last time. What exactly was she hiding? And where had the old scar and the fresh injury on her leg come from? Lena never answered. She simply turned and walked toward the door. During the kindergarten parents' meeting, Sura suddenly suggested inviting Taejun, a presidential candidate, to give a talk. The moment she said it, the wealthy mothers in the room were stunned. Everyone knew Taejun usually kept his distance from chaebol families. So almost no one thought he would say yes. But Lena stepped in right away and said she would ask him herself. Sura did not believe her at all. Lena immediately called Taejun in person. He picked up, but he didn't say yes or no right away. He only said he would see how things went. So for now, she still had no answer. Soon after that, Miho's family gathered for their annual ancestral ceremony. After the men of the Kang family finished paying their respects, they went straight into a family meeting. Officially, Miho was already at the top of LY group. But inside the Kang family, he was nowhere near secure. Miho's father also had another son, Miho's half-brother. His father was still the one with the final say. But right now, the Kang family was not focused on ability. What mattered was who could give the Kang family a male heir first. Sura still had not gotten pregnant. And her relationship with Miho had only grown more distant. During the meal, the Kang family openly brought up her age. Miho's sister-in-law even said Sura's age out loud on purpose. Sura snapped on the spot. She deliberately dropped her bowl onto her sister-in-law's foot, injuring her. The sister-in-law immediately demanded to know whether Sura had done it on purpose. Sura played innocent, and the two of them started arguing right there. Miho called Sura outside. But just like every other time, all he did was tell her to put up with it a little longer. Sura finally let all of her resentment spill out. She complained that the Kang family kept forcing her to have a son. But all the pressure fell on her alone. Miho brought up her age instead. The mood between them went cold fast. Sura kept pressing him about the shares. But that only made Miho suspect that she had married him for LY group in the first place. The tension between them froze over. Sura called Lena and vented about the ancestral ceremony. She called it ridiculous and cursed the Kang family for pressuring her to have a son. And every time they went back to the Kang family house, the thing that angered her most was always the same. Her husband never took her side. Lena kept comforting her gently over the phone. But the second the call ended, the warmth faded from Lena's face. The next day, Sura asked Lena to go shopping with her. Lena quickly realized that what Sura was most anxious about now was getting pregnant. Miho had already stopped touching her. That was what really made her panic. Sura had even booked an appointment with an OBGYN. She wanted to fix the problem as soon as possible. So Lena suggested that surgery might not be the only answer. Maybe they could start with tango instead. Dancing that close together might bring Miho back to her. It could work better than another tense conversation. And with the kindergarten event coming up, they could even turn it into a public performance. Sura was finally tempted. But right then, Miho came home. The second he walked in, he saw Lena standing in his house. She was the woman he could not stop thinking about. Sura was right there, so Lena and Miho kept their eyes down. They only greeted each other briefly. When Lena was about to leave, Sura insisted on keeping her a little longer. Then Sura went upstairs to do her makeup. That left Lena and Miho alone in the living room. Lena did not waste the chance. Lena reached for a wine glass. The back of her hand lightly brushed against Miho's hand. Then she went into the kitchen. She stood on tiptoe to reach for a glass on the top shelf. Miho reached past her from behind to help. Their hands brushed, then lingered together. Miho looked down at her. Lena slowly closed her eyes. Just as he leaned in to kiss her, a noise came from behind them. They both let go at once. Sura had not caught them in the act. But Miho still felt they had gone too far. He turned around and asked Lena what she was really after. Lena denied having any hidden motive. But Miho said everyone who got close to him always had a reason. And Lena would not be any different. He said he would find out the truth himself. Then he turned and left. Lena stayed where she was as tears started falling. Soon, Jaehyun came to pick Lena up. Before long, Lena, Jaehyun, Sura, and Miho ended up seated at the same table. At the table, everyone acted like nothing was wrong. But during the meal, Lena and Miho still found their eyes meeting from time to time. Then Jaehyun mentioned that he and Lena had a child not long after getting married. He also said their family life had always been steady. Miho finally looked away. Then Miho asked Lena whether she knew the story of Piazzolla and the tango accordion. That immediately caught Lena's attention. But instead of showing interest, Lena pretended not to know anything about it. Miho looked at her, and his expression darkened again. Before they left, Jaehyun went to get the car, leaving Lena and Miho alone again. Lena spoke first. She invited Miho to come watch her tango performance on Saturday. When he gave no response, she stepped closer. Then she said quietly that if he came, the two of them could be alone together. Miho visibly struggled to hold himself back. They were still holding each other's gaze. Then Jaehyun drove the car over. Before getting in, Lena turned back and looked at Miho one more time. Miho avoided her eyes, but he still gave no answer. The next day, Lena taught Sura tango at the dance studio herself. The two wealthy women who had never gotten along with Sura also showed up. At first, they had looked down on the idea of taking dance lessons. But as soon as they heard that Sura would be standing in the center, their attitude changed. They wanted that position too. Lena had already arranged young male partners for them. So the studio quickly came alive. Just then, Taejun called back. He said he had agreed to give the talk at the kindergarten. Sura immediately took the news to her father. This time, she could face her father with some confidence. But the event was not the only reason Taejun agreed to come. The next day, Taejun showed up as promised. Sura hurried forward, trying to get closer to him. But Taejun's attention was really on Lena. He mentioned that he had once received help from Lena's father years ago. He even addressed her by name. Lena immediately changed the subject and refused to say who she really was. Taejun did not press her. He only handed her a file. Inside was a report on Miho's background. The moment Lena got home, she opened the file. The woman pretending to be Lena's mother was there with her. Inside, they found the truth about Miho. Miho was not born to his father's legal wife. He was an illegitimate child born to the family's nanny. For all these years, his father had kept that secret buried. Lena understood the danger right away. If the truth ever came to light, Miho's position in the Kang family could be shaken. And if that happened, their plan would no longer work the same way. They would have to change everything they had built around Miho and Sura. Then Lena remembered something Miho had mentioned before, the story about tango and the accordion. She immediately contacted Mary to look into it. But before Mary could get back to her, trouble started at the dance studio. The wealthy wives were having a great time dancing with their male partners. Sura, meanwhile, was still holding back and refusing to join in. Lena urged her to at least give it a try. She said maybe the first step was simply to bring Miho back to her. That finally persuaded Sura, and she accepted a male partner. After one round, even Sura had to admit that this kind of close contact really could stir up feelings. Lena immediately told her to call Miho. But Miho responded coldly and hung up soon after. Disappointed, Sura contacted the bodyguard again. Lena noticed. While getting ready for the meeting, Sura casually asked Lena for a favor. She wanted Lena to pick up Nancy and take the child home. Lena agreed on the spot. She knew this was her chance to get into Miho's study and look for evidence. After taking Nancy home, Lena waited until the servants were distracted. Then she said she wanted to borrow a computer to revise her lesson materials. Nancy told her the computer was in her father's study. A servant immediately warned them. No one was allowed in there when Miho was not home. But Nancy said she went in all the time. Lena gently encouraged Nancy to go in, then followed her into the study. The second they got inside, Lena sent Nancy away to look for her ballet shoes. Then she started searching for the ledgers. From what she knew, LY Group still kept handwritten records. If she could find the hidden ledgers, she could get the financial records she needed. Those records would point back to the year her father's company was involved. But after searching for quite a while, she found nothing. Then she noticed a tango book on the shelf. She picked it up and flipped it open. Inside, there was a newspaper clipping about the car accident that killed Miho's mother. While Lena was still staring at the clipping, stunned, Nancy came running back. She said the ballet shoes might be in a secret storage room. Then Nancy stepped onto a stool and pulled a book from the corner. After that, she pressed a hidden button. The bookshelf slowly moved aside and revealed a concealed door. Nancy had secretly watched her father go in and out before. She remembered which book he had touched, and where he had pressed the button. Lena tried the spot Nancy pointed out. The hidden door actually opened. Then Lena followed Nancy inside. The secret room was filled with evidence of bribery. In the corner, Lena quickly found Chairman Han's ledger, along with records showing the bribe amounts. The moment she saw those pages, Lena knew she had finally found the right place. But just then, Miho's voice came from downstairs. He was home. Lena immediately rushed out of the hidden room. Then she put everything back as fast as she could. The next second, the study door opened. Miho immediately saw Lena and his daughter standing inside. His expression hardened. Nancy was so frightened that she wet herself. Lena apologized at once and said she had entered without permission. Miho did not discover the hidden room. He only told them to leave, his face grim. By the time Lena got back to the dance studio, Taejun was already there. He had been waiting for a long time. He was clearly worried, and he warned her that Miho was dangerous and capable of anything. He told her to stop before it was too late. Lena did not answer. She only said she was tired and wanted to be alone. Taejun turned to leave. Then he suddenly saw the rose tattoo on Lena's back. Under the tattoo was the scar she had carried since childhood. Now he knew he had not been wrong about her. Before leaving, he told her one last thing. From now on, she would not have to carry everything alone. And if she insisted on continuing, he would help her. Later, Sura looked in the mirror. That was when she noticed the marks the bodyguard had left on her neck. She panicked, afraid the truth would come out. Then she lashed out at him. When she got home, she ran into Miho. Before he could say anything, she hurried to explain. She said she had gone to see her father. That was why she was back so late. But Miho did not respond to a single word of it. Holding the sleeping Nancy in his arms, he walked straight past her. Sura thought she had gotten away with it. But once Miho returned to his study, he quickly noticed something was wrong. Someone had moved the tango book with the clipping about his mother's accident. No one ever opened it to that page. Anyone who found it had most likely been digging into his past. Miho knew exactly what that meant. The secret of his birth might already have been discovered. Then Mary finally called Lena back. Mary told Lena that Miho had once come to see Mary. 8 years earlier, Lena and Miho had crossed paths. Miho had never been able to let go of his mother's death. Lena realized something else too. The old scar on Lena's back might be tied to the same past. It was the past Miho had been investigating all this time. On the night of the tango performance, Lena saw Miho backstage. Miho did not ease into it this time. He told her directly that he was giving her one chance to walk away. If she stopped right then, she could still remain the perfect wife in her husband's eyes. But if she kept going, she would face consequences far beyond a scandal. Lena did not back down. She walked over and pulled the curtain shut. Then she stood in front of Miho and looked at him. She said she would not run. And she wanted him to. After she said that, Miho could not hold back anymore. Outside the curtain, the performance on stage was still going on. Behind the curtain, the distance between them finally disappeared. One moment, Miho and Lena were kissing passionately. The next, he pushed her down. Right there, he humiliated her. He said a woman like her did not deserve his love. Then he gave her one cold look and walked away. Lena had tried to get close to Miho, but none of it worked. She did not even get his phone number. Sunja immediately lost her temper and demanded to know why Lena had ruined everything. But Lena refused to take all the blame. She reminded Sunja that she was the one taking the risk. She was the one getting close to Miho and dealing with him face to face. It was not fair to put everything on her. They parted badly, and the tension between them never really eased. After that, Lena went back to the dance studio and started practicing tango over and over again. When Taejun came to see her, Sura happened to be there too. Lena finished dancing and turned around. Only then did she realize both of them were standing behind her. Taejun had news for her. He had agreed to attend the lecture at the elite kindergarten as a presidential candidate. Sura had worked hard to get Taejun to attend. When she heard he had accepted, she thanked him. Then she invited him to the dinner party hosted by her husband, Miho. Taejun was about to refuse. But the moment he heard Lena would be there too, he changed his answer and agreed right away. Sura was so happy that she immediately called her father to tell him the news. Lena found out Sura had not driven herself there. So Lena offered to drive Sura back to Chairman Han's house. Before they left, Lena went into the hidden room and took out a recording device. Then, for the first time, she stepped into Chairman Han's home. Sura wanted to speak to her father alone. So Sura told the bodyguard to stay with Lena for a while. Lena deliberately knocked over a cup of hot tea. Using the burn as an excuse, she sent the bodyguard out. He went to get cold water and a first aid kit. While he was gone, Lena quickly tried to plant a listening device under the table. She barely had time to look around any further. Then she heard Chairman Han and Sura talking inside about Taejun. Chairman Han clearly had high hopes for Taejun. If the Han family could win Taejun over, their position would become even more secure. After Sura got Taejun to attend, her father immediately gave her credit for it. Sura looked openly pleased with herself. Then suddenly, Lena heard movement behind her. Her hand shook, and the bug slipped from her fingers and dropped under the table. The bodyguard was about to come back. There was no time to pick it up. She had no choice but to stop and leave. But the bug was still under that table. If anyone found it, she could be exposed at any moment. On the drive back, Sura was still caught up in the excitement of being praised by her father. She kept thanking Lena. Then she said confidently that on her birthday, she would finally take control of the department store. But just as the car stopped outside the house, Miho came back. He saw Lena standing there and gave her a cold glance. Without saying a word, he went straight inside, leaving her outside by herself. As soon as the door closed, Lena called Sura. She told Sura not to rush into asking for the position. Instead, Sura should wait for a public setting, then show what she was capable of there. That way, her father would have an easier time acknowledging her in front of everyone. After Lena got home, Sunja listened in through the bug. What she heard was Chairman Han pressuring a representative of Yoon-Sang Industries. Sunja wanted to hold on to the evidence and save it for the right moment. But Lena insisted on giving it to the victim right away. Sunja worried that doing that would expose them. So she pressed Lena and asked whether she was really sure about this. Lena did not answer her directly. She only told her that the answer would come on Sura's birthday. A few days later, the Han family held the dinner party as planned. The moment Taejun arrived, he became the center of attention. He usually kept his distance from the chaebol world. So the mood in the room shifted the moment he showed up. Lena showed up on Jaehyun's arm. Even her outfit was similar in color to Miho's. Then Miho saw Jaehyun standing close to Lena and acting affectionate with her. His expression darkened. The second Lena spoke in fluent Italian, the whole room turned to look at her. A foreign businessman bent down and kissed the back of her hand. Miho's face changed completely. Lena reached for a drink, but Taejun lifted a hand and stopped her. Sura saw it and immediately assumed Taejun was starting to show interest in Lena. Once Lena and Sura reached the lounge, Sura grew more and more excited. She was convinced Taejun was already interested in Lena. In her mind, her father had finally seen what she was capable of. Lena followed her lead and kept talking. Then she smoothly steered the conversation toward taking control of the department store. The department store was still in Sura's sister-in-law's hands. Just as Lena expected, Sura was hooked right away. She swore on the spot that she would take over the largest shopping center business. Meanwhile, Miho's older half-brother was already drunk. He started getting too close to Lena and putting his hands on her. Lena did not move away. She kept the smile on her face and just stood there looking at him. Not far away, Miho had been watching the whole time. But Sura was still leaning against his shoulder, acting clingy. She had no idea what was going on. Sura's sister-in-law saw what was happening. She looked down on Sura for bringing someone like Lena to an event like this. Sura snapped back immediately and even defended Lena with a sharp edge in her voice. Everything around Sura was starting to fall apart. Meanwhile, Miho's older half-brother was getting bolder and bolder. Miho finally lost control. He slammed down his glass and strode over. Then he shoved his brother aside. He took Lena by the arm and led her out of the banquet hall. Once they were somewhere quiet, Miho tried to hold back his anger. Then he asked her what exactly she was trying to do. Lena shot back coldly and asked what any of this had to do with him. Then she deliberately brought up his brother, saying at least that man had the nerve to say what he wanted. Miho, on the other hand, liked her but did nothing but pull away. That pushed Miho over the edge. He asked her if she really had to drive him out of control. Lena answered by throwing his own cruel words back at him, word for word. She turned to leave. Miho reached out at once and blocked her way. Then he lowered his head and tried to kiss her. Lena turned her face away and dodged him. Miho asked what she wanted from him. What would it take for her to accept him? In the end, he even blurted out that he could be with her right now. Lena shook off his hand and pressed a room key card into his palm. Then she told him to meet her on Sura's birthday. She added coldly that whether he came or not was his choice. After that, she turned and walked away, leaving Miho standing there alone. From there, Lena began arranging Sura's birthday step by step. First, she had the staff shower Sura with compliments. Then she casually suggested changing the original plan for the large birthday party. Instead, it would become a smaller, more private tango party. Sura agreed and cancelled the old plan right away. Next, Lena prepared 2 dresses for her. One was for dancing. The other, Lena said, was for the presidential suite. That was where Sura would surprise her husband. Sura was full of anticipation. She even told her assistant to keep it secret. At the same time, Miho kept staring at that key card and still could not make up his mind. Early the next morning, he went to the office like always. As she did every year, Miho's secretary booked the presidential suite for his wife's birthday. Meanwhile, Sura woke up and found that her husband had already left. There were no birthday decorations anywhere in the house either. All she could do was put on the dress Lena had prepared for her. Still holding on to hope, she headed to the tango club. But the second Sura arrived, Lena said she had to go see Taejun. Then she left first. Sura felt disappointed, but she still assumed the other guests would arrive soon. Right after leaving, Lena contacted the group of wealthy wives. She asked them to keep Sura company on her behalf. But those women had never thought much of Sura in the first place. They agreed at first. But in the end, not one of them showed up. Before long, Sura was left alone in the club. Meanwhile, Lena had already changed clothes. She carefully covered the tattoo and marks on her back. Then she sat down to wait for Miho. By evening, Sura was still the only person in that huge club. She waited and waited, but no one came. In the end, she walked out in humiliation. Only then did she realize the driver had already taken the car away. Furious, Sura immediately called Secretary Kim and lashed out at her. She demanded that a car be sent for her right away. Secretary Kim had no choice but to contact Miho's assistant. After confirming the hotel and room number Miho had booked, she arranged for Sura to be sent there. Sura heard she was going to the presidential suite her husband had booked. Only then did some of her anger finally ease. At the same time, Miho could not stop thinking about Lena's ultimatum. Why had she chosen his wife's birthday of all days for their meeting? His secretary asked if he was heading to the hotel, as planned. He was supposed to spend his wife's birthday with her. Miho said flatly that all of tonight's plans were cancelled, but the hotel reservation would stay. The secretary froze on the spot and hurried after him to ask why. Miho only said he had another very important engagement. Then he turned off his phone and walked away without looking back. That was when the secretary panicked. Sura had already changed into her dress and left. Unaware of all this, Sura went to the presidential suite full of hope. She was wearing the red dress Lena had chosen for her. She had no idea that Miho was on his way to another woman. And Lena was already waiting for him. Sura pushed open the door. She thought she was about to see the birthday surprise her husband had prepared. But the room was empty. There were no decorations on the table. Nothing had been set up for a birthday at all. Her face slowly darkened. Secretary Kim could only say that Miho had left no other instructions. At the same time, Lena walked up to Miho. She lightly touched his face. Then she pulled him into her arms. Miho had been holding himself together all day. But at that moment, he finally broke. First he held her tightly. Then all the feelings he had been suppressing came pouring out at once. Sura got nothing. When she returned home, she completely lost it. She started smashing things as if she had gone mad. Then she took all her anger out on the servants. In the middle of the chaos, she tripped over something on the floor. She fell hard. Lying there on the ground, she cried as she called her father. She told him that today was her birthday, and her husband had turned off his phone. But instead of comforting her, her father scolded her. He said she could not even handle her own birthday, and then he hung up. Sura fell apart completely. She collapsed on the floor and sobbed. The servants stood nearby, not one of them daring to step closer. Meanwhile, Lena handed Miho the clothes she had prepared in advance. Then she told him to change. Back at home, Sura was still falling apart. Even then, the first person she thought of was Lena. Lena comforted Sura at just the right moment. Then she asked whether Sura wanted her to come over now. Hearing that only made Sura more convinced. Lena was the one person who truly cared about her. She thought Lena was still keeping an eye on Taejun for her. So she did not ask Lena to come back. After hanging up, Sura still could not let it go. So she called Miho again. This time, the call would not even go through. That confirmed it for her. On her birthday, her husband had left her behind all alone. Right after that, she rushed into the bathroom and turned on hot water. Then she kept washing her hands again and again. By the end of that day, Sura still knew nothing. She still believed Lena was the person she trusted most. By daybreak, Miho was still with Lena. He checked the time. Then, almost casually, he said he had not slept that peacefully in a long time. When Sura found out her husband had not come home all night, she took all her anger out on Secretary Cha. The servants in the house all kept their heads down. No one dared to say a word. Before Miho left, he handed Lena a new phone. He told her to contact him only through that phone from now on. Sura had been monitoring his regular phone. Lena took the phone. Just before leaving, Miho put a snake-shaped diamond necklace on her. Lena glanced at the necklace and said nothing. As soon as Sura heard Miho was back, she stopped taking her anger out on Secretary Cha. Then she told the badly beaten Secretary Cha to hide for now. When Miho walked in, the house was in complete disarray. None of the servants dared to look up. He told all the staff to leave for the day. Then he asked Sura directly whether she had put a tracker on his car. Sura tried to play dumb. But Miho had already found out who installed the GPS tracker. Secretary Cha had installed it in the car on Sura's orders. But Secretary Cha did not dare name her. He could only kneel and take the blame. Miho said coldly that in this house, only Sura would give an order like that. Then he threw Secretary Cha out. Seeing that he was truly angry, Sura put on a wounded look. She said she had only done it because she cared too much about him. She brought up her birthday too. All she had wanted that day was to spend time alone with her husband. But Miho only gave her one answer. He said he was not her subordinate. And she was not going to control him the same way she controlled everyone else. Sura was convinced this was nothing but an excuse for staying out all night. Miho lost patience. He packed his things and said that from now on, they would sleep in separate rooms. Elsewhere, Lena heard every word of their argument. The night before, while Miho was asleep, Lena had already made her move. She had installed a listening app on his phone. From then on, Lena would be able to track Miho's movements. She would also hear his phone calls. The next day, Lena deliberately came home carrying a package. She exchanged a look with Sunja. Then Jae-hyun hurried out. Lena pointed to the name on the package and asked why it was there. It was her late father's name. She had barely started to open it. That was when Jae-hyun panicked. He snatched it away, saying the package had been delivered by mistake. Clutching the package, Jae-hyun rushed out and said he was going to return it. After that reaction, Lena was even more certain. That package had something to do with what happened to her father back then. And Jae-hyun knew about it too. Not long after, Jae-hyun went to meet an old co-worker. Back then, both of them had worked under Lena's father. Later, they had switched sides together and gone over to Chairman Han. Now each of them had received a package. Both packages had Lena's father's name on them, and neither man reacted normally. While the two men met in secret, Lena had already arranged for someone to take pictures. Meanwhile, Lena kept replaying the moment Nancy entered the password for the secret room. She wrote down every possible number in a notebook. She had already made up her mind. Next time, she was going back into that secret room. And she was going to find the evidence that could finally bring Chairman Han down. At the elite kindergarten, Lena deliberately let something slip to the group of rich wives. Miho had not come home on Sura's birthday night. The women, who normally never dared talk back to Sura, listened more closely than ever this time. And right then, Sura called and asked Lena to bring Nancy home. But the moment Lena walked in, she froze. The mansion was a wreck. Smashed furniture was everywhere, and Nancy was terrified. Lena followed the noise into the guest room. There, she found Sura wearing goggles. Sura was swinging a hammer at the bed. Sura did not stop until Nancy called out, "Mom." But the first thing Sura did was not to comfort her daughter. She told Nancy to call her father right away. Meanwhile, Secretary Cha apologized and handed in his resignation. He said he was preparing to return to his hometown. Miho did not take the resignation letter. He only asked him one thing. "Would you be willing to work for me from now on?" Back at the mansion, Lena tried calling Miho several times using Sura's phone. But he did not pick up once. So she switched to the new phone meant only for contacting him. This time, he answered almost immediately. Lena lowered her voice. She only said the house was getting out of control, and he needed to come back at once. Before long, Miho arrived. As soon as he walked in, he saw shards and debris all over the floor. The whole house was in chaos. First, he made sure that Nancy and Lena were not hurt. Lena worried he might give himself away by showing too much concern. So she quietly reminded him that Nancy was still there. Just then, Sura stormed over in fury. She grabbed a celadone plate off the floor and smashed it again. Miho instinctively started to step forward, but Lena caught his arm and stopped him. His concern was already becoming too obvious. Instead, she turned to stand beside him, shielding Nancy behind them. But Sura kept lashing out at Miho. She demanded to know if he was really going to yell at her in front of an outsider. In the end, Lena managed to calm her down and bring her back into the room. Once they were inside, Sura was still crying. She could not get over the way Miho had looked at Lena just moments earlier. Lena took the chance to slip something into Sura's tea. Then Lena steered the conversation toward the department store project. She also casually brought up Sura's sister-in-law. Not long after, Sura fell asleep. Lena immediately slipped into Miho's study. But Miho pulled her straight into the hidden room only the two of them knew about. She was worried Sura might wake up at any moment. Miho only had time to check Lena's whether she was okay. Then he took a few hurried bites of the egg fried rice she had made. After that brief moment, Lena pushed her feelings down and left. But the second she stepped out of the secret room, her face was calm again. She went back to the room where she had been hiding evidence. She organized everything she had collected from the wiretap. Then she pressed Sunja to send the materials to the court as soon as possible. Lena wanted to move ahead first with the part of the plan targeting Chairman Han. But Sunja reminded her that the key evidence was still inside Miho's safe. Until she got that evidence, Lena could not afford to disrupt the original plan. Sunja could also tell that Lena's attitude toward Miho had changed. She warned Lena that from this point on, she had to keep her distance from him. The moment Jaehyun came home, Lena pressed him about why he had thrown away the package from earlier. Jaehyun stammered and could not tell the truth. Lena looked at him coldly. She said she had married him in the first place because she had believed he was honest. Until he told her the whole truth, he was not to touch her again. The next day, Sura excitedly handed her father the business proposal Lena had written. Then she waited for praise. The proposal had one central idea. It would turn the shops in the city center into the group's new shopping district. The second Chairman Han heard the idea, he understood that this plan was not just about business. Even Damon, standing nearby, looked surprised. If the plan moved forward, even the presidential candidate Taejun could get dragged into it. But Chairman Han knew his daughter too well. He immediately asked who had really written the proposal. Sura denied it at first. But in the end, she admitted that one of the mothers from the parent group had helped her. And the entire conversation between father and daughter had already been recorded. Lena had planted a listening device earlier. After hearing the recording, even Sunja realized Lena had uncovered more than anyone expected. And she had done it far sooner than they had imagined. The moment Sura walked into the tango club, the rich wives closed in around her. They were all smiles, saying they wanted to make up for missing her birthday. Sura could tell at a glance they were up to something. Afraid Sura might lose control right there, Lena quickly took her into the lounge. Once they were alone, Sura pulled out 100 million won. She used it to pay off the two rich wives' male dance partners. Then she brought out another bag stuffed with even more cash. Whoever found the evidence first would get all of it. Lena carefully tested Sura, reminding her that this was already a crime. Sura did not care at all. She just said she always did whatever she wanted. No one had ever been able to stop her. To marry Miho, she had personally dealt with two women. Both of them had stood in her way. The first was a young woman who had once been rumored to be involved with Miho. That woman was Sunja's late daughter. When Sura mentioned the second woman, she kept it vague. It was someone who had come back to take the company away. Hearing that, Lena immediately thought Sura was most likely talking about Lena's own mother. Lena's mother had been missing for years. Lena forced down her emotions and pressed Sura on what had really happened back then. But Sura did not go any further. She only left Lena with one warning. Knowing too much would not be good for Lena. The moment Lena heard that, she went straight to Taejun. She wanted to know exactly what had happened before her mother disappeared. Taejun said the last time he saw Lena's mother, she had been on the phone. She had been secretly talking to someone. After that, she had specifically warned him not to come back to the nursing hospital. It was too dangerous there. Later, she checked herself out and said she was going to stay with relatives. After that, she vanished completely. After hearing all of it, Lena lost the last bit of hope she had left. Her legs gave out beneath her. She dropped to the floor and cried out, "Mom." The next day, Taejun received an invitation from Chairman Han. For Lena's sake, he agreed to the meeting. Meanwhile, Lena had barely slept all night. But Sura still knew nothing. She was already in the mansion, picking out a tango costume for the kindergarten performance. That same morning, Miho had just arrived at the office when his father's secretary came to get him. The second he stepped inside, he saw a row of contracts laid out on the table. Once the room was empty except for the two of them, his father slapped him across the face. Then he forced him to kneel. The shopping center had actually been under Miho's older brother's control. But Chairman Han had already taken it away. Right there, his father forced Miho to sign documents giving up his inheritance. Then he humiliated Miho again by insulting his background and his mother. That was what finally pushed Miho past his limit. In the dressing room at the elite kindergarten, Damon and Chairman Han walked in. They wanted to see who had helped secure the shopping center. Lena forced down her hatred and greeted them. They looked at her, praised the proposal, and asked whether she had studied business in college. Then they deliberately added that they had heard Lily's mom was an excellent dancer and asked whether that would make Sura look outmatched. Lena only said they would know after the performance. The parents' performance began. Below the stage, the seats were packed with businessmen and reporters. Meanwhile, Miho's father had already realized Miho was gone. He was sending people everywhere to look for him. But by then, Miho was already driving to the kindergarten where Lena was. His father had pushed him too far. Now Miho looked cold as ice. He looked like a man who had already made up his mind. On stage, Sura and Lena came out as partners. Lena was dressed in menswear. For almost the entire dance, Lena was the one leading. Sura stood in the most visible position. But the whole time, she was following Lena's rhythm. When the performance ended, Sura was still soaking in the applause. Lena had already stepped backstage. That was when Miho suddenly appeared in front of her. Lena immediately saw the swelling on his face. She pressed him on what had happened. But Miho only said coldly that some people always saw themselves as kings. When it came to taking that seat, family background meant nothing. What mattered was who won in the end. After saying that, Miho looked straight at Lena. This time, he did not look away. Outside, reporters had already surrounded Sura. Watching that scene, Lena remembered something Miho had once said to her. He had once made her promise one thing. No matter what happened, she would not leave him. Sunja, standing to the side, noticed the change in Lena too. After the interview ended, Sura ran into the two of them. She thought Miho had come there specifically for her. So she said right there that Miho would always be hers. Lena answered in a calm voice. She said she had suddenly started to wonder whether Miho already had another woman on the side. Sura froze where she stood. Lena kept pushing Sura and Miho further apart. She brought up how Miho had shown up to the performance empty-handed. No flowers. No gift. That day, he had barely looked at Sura. He had not come home that night either. Sura's expression changed right away. She motioned for Lena to follow her to the restroom. As soon as they walked in, Sura turned on the faucet. The water was too hot. Then she started washing her hands again and again. Watching Sura, Lena suddenly remembered herself as a child. She had done the exact same thing. Lena told Sura to stop washing like that. If Sura kept going, she was going to hurt her hands. Sura did not take it well. She knocked the handkerchief Lena offered her to the floor. Then Sura warned Lena not to accuse Miho without proof. If Lena wanted to make that claim, she needed evidence. If Lena had no proof, Sura said she would never let Lena get away with it. With that, Sura slammed the door and walked out. Lena stayed behind and smiled. On the surface, Sura acted like nothing had happened. In public, she even held Miho's arm and played the part of the loving wife. But behind Sura's back, Miho had already made plans with Lena. They were going to the Rose house. He was not even planning to go home that night. Sunja came with the family to look for Lena. They were ready to take Lena away by force. But Jaehyun stopped them before they could do anything. Sura was still acting affectionate toward Miho. She was trying to get him to go home with her. Miho only said he had work at the company and would not be going home. Then he left without looking back. That was enough to make Sura suspicious. She immediately ordered her people to follow him. At the hideout, Lena told Miho what they had to focus on now. They had to win over the people around Chairman Han. Miho was clearly shaken by what she said. Sura kept calling him again and again, but Miho never picked up. When she could not reach him, Sura's panic attacks started getting worse. Lena stayed at the hideout. For days, Lena and Miho kept discussing how to take control. During that time, the two of them also grew closer. Lena did not go home until the 7th day. The second she got back, Sunja warned her. Sunja already had evidence of Chairman Han's crimes. She also said she knew the real reason Lena had gotten close to Miho. Only then did Lena tell her the truth. Her mother's what happened was tied to Sura. Lena had heard it from Sura herself. Sunja told her to take the legal route. But Lena did not believe the law could really bring them down. She wanted to push Sura little by little, all the way to the edge of collapse. Not long after that, Sura came to see her. At first, Sura thought Lena had stopped coming to the kindergarten. She assumed it was because she had scolded Lena last time. But Sura soon revealed the real reason. Miho had not been coming home lately. And the more Sura thought about it, the more uneasy she felt. Lena played along right away. She said she was willing to help Sura find out what was going on. But by then, Miho had already blocked Sura's number. Even his personal bodyguard was covering for him. Hearing that, Lena pulled out the proposal for the shopping mall's soft opening. She had prepared it in advance. She told Sura to use work as an excuse to go see Miho. Around then, Sunja called again and told Lena not to do anything rash. She was afraid the plan would be exposed. But Lena did not stop. One more push, and Sura would lose control in front of everyone. Taejun was also making his own move against Chairman Han. Using the promise of a partnership as cover, he worked his way into Chairman Han's circle and started gathering evidence. At the company, Miho was in a meeting with a foreign company. When he heard that Sura had shown up, he worried she would cause a scene. So he cut the meeting short. The bodyguards stopped Sura outside. Sura demanded to know if they had any idea who she was. Secretary Cha came out to smooth things over. He told Sura to wait in Miho's office. Seeing how busy the office was, Sura started to wonder. Maybe she had been unfair to her husband. Then Lena reached out to Jaehyun and told him to come to the company. Lena also made sure Sura got into Miho's office. While no one was around, Sura searched the room top to bottom. She found nothing. Just when she was about to give up, Lena reminded her to check Miho's suit. Sura looked, and there it was. A glaring smear of eyeshadow on the collar. Lena had secretly put it there that morning. The second Sura saw it, she broke down. She shoved Lena against the wall. Then she demanded to know whose makeup it was. Lena only said she had noticed it by accident. Sura kept pressing her for the woman's name. So Lena mentioned that Tamri was always talking about Miho. Right then, Miho rushed in and pulled Lena away. He snapped at Sura, saying she had almost hurt someone. But Sura shot back at him. How could he notice someone else getting hurt? Why could he not see that she was hurting too? The moment Miho saw Sura put her hands on Lena, he told Sura to leave. Sura completely lost it. She grabbed a vase and smashed it onto the table. Miho told Sora again to get out right now. Sora shouted back in rage. She said she was going home to tell her father everything. Miho only gave her one answer. He said Sora had done this to herself. When Damon got there, all he could do was take Sora outside. She was still sobbing. But she shook off Damon's hand and insisted on going home to tell her father what happened. Jaehyun arrived at the company around the same time. But outside the door, he saw Miho holding the injured Lena and comforting her. Jaehyun did not say a word. He just turned around and left. Sora ran back to her father in tears. But Damon stopped her before she could reach him. From a distance, Taejun saw all of it. He immediately suspected Lena was involved again. After Sora was taken away, she hid in the restroom and started scrubbing her hands again. Then she noticed something. There was still eyeshadow on her hands. It had come from Miho's suit. The more she tried to wash it off, the more she fell apart. Her personal bodyguard heard the noise and came in. Sora instantly took her anger out on him. Then Lena appeared at the doorway. Sora kept pressing Lena, asking whose eyeshadow it really was. Lena acted like she did not understand. Then she casually mentioned Hayami. Hayami had once bragged about a custom bag Miho gave her. Someone came in and said Taejun, the lawmaker, was about to leave. Only then did Lena realize he was there too. Once the others had cleared out, Lena immediately went after Taejun. She asked why he had come. After Lena brought Taejun back, he finally told her the real reason for his visit. But Lena barely had time to process what he said. Miho's female bodyguard showed up with a car key and a message for Lena. Sunja saw the exchange too, and that made her even more uneasy. She had never believed Lena could really push Sora into a divorce. After Jaehyun got home, alcohol finally gave him the courage to confront Lena. This time, Lena did not avoid it. She admitted it outright. For the past few days, she had been with Miho the whole time. Jaehyun was crushed. But Lena gave him nothing more. She gave him an ultimatum. Either stop standing in her way, or stand on her side. Then she packed her things and walked out. Lena returned to the secret room. For a long time, she just stared at the home security feed, watching Sunja's every move. She watched Jaehyun drink by himself and care for Lily on his own. Lena saw it all. Miho kept calling her, but the calls never went through. By then, Chairman Han had already brought Taejun into one of the company's core projects. Not long after, Lena checked the surveillance feed from the tango studio. That was when she saw it. The male dance partners were already getting close to the two wealthy women. Sora had bought them off. Lena understood right away. Sora was not just investigating her husband anymore. She was about to blow the whole thing up. Then Miho found out what Lena had done. She had sent the female bodyguard away. He rushed straight to the hideout, only to find it empty. Lena was in the secret room, watching everything through the feed. But Lena never answered him. Sunja also contacted a private investigator. She planned to tell Miho Lena's real identity when the time was right. At the tango studio, Sora was looking for Lena. She searched everywhere. She wanted Lena to identify the woman who had destroyed her marriage. But right then, her two wealthy rivals walked in. Each had a male dance partner on her arm. Sora recognized the limited edition bag at a glance. Hayami was holding it. It was the apology gift Miho had told Lena to deliver. But Hayami said it outright, Miho had given it to her. The other wealthy woman was wearing eyeshadow. It was the exact same shade as the smear on Miho's suit. Sora lost control on the spot. Her panic attack hit again. She humiliated herself in front of everyone. She did not dare tell her father what had happened. Doubts kept coming back. Still, she forced herself not to think any further. In the end, she took all of that rage out on Lena. That was when Lena finally called her. Lena said it had taken her a while, but she had found something. Miho had recently bought a car for a woman. Right after that, Lena sent Sora the photos. They showed the new car key, along with a flirtatious note. Sora recognized Miho's handwriting at once. That was all it took. Her anger exploded. Before long, she found the two-tone car. Then she ordered her personal bodyguard to go after it. She was convinced of one thing, the woman inside was the one Miho had been hiding. She could not see the person in the car clearly. That only made her spiral even further. In the end, she even ordered her bodyguard to force the car to stop. They finally forced the car to stop at an intersection. When the window came down, Sora saw the truth. The person inside was not Miho's mistress. Not at all. It was Miho's female bodyguard. This had been Lena's trap from the very beginning. By the time the police arrived, Sura finally realized she had completely lost control. Sura and her personal bodyguard ran in separate directions. After Sura fled the scene of the accident, the first thing she did was cover her face. She did not want anyone to recognize her. What scared her even more was that people might find out about her relationship with her male bodyguard. The next day, the police traced the car back to Miho Group and went straight to the company. Miho knew right away there was no hiding this anymore. As soon as Sura heard about it, she smashed her male bodyguard's phone. Then she made sure nothing else linked them. Then she kept warning him that her husband and her father could never know. At the same time, the hit-and-run story involving a Chaebol family was already all over the news. Chairman Han rushed to look for Sura, but she had already hidden herself in a hotel. Lena was the one driving the public outrage behind the scenes. She stayed inside the secret room and watched the reports on TV. For the first time, she smiled. Miho's father also started looking into his daughter-in-law. He had his secretary pull the surveillance footage. That was when he found out Sura had not been alone at the accident scene. There had been a man with her. He immediately ordered his people to identify the man. Then he said Chairman Han had to be told. Once the footage was sent over, Chairman Han and Damon were both caught off guard. Only the male bodyguard behind them recognized the man on the screen immediately. He was looking at himself. Miho asked Sura to meet him at the company gallery. The moment they sat down, he pressed her about what had really happened that morning. But Sura said she had only been drinking champagne with a friend. On the way home, she accidentally hit another car. She said she only left because she did not want any trouble. Miho immediately asked who that friend was. Sura turned it around and demanded to know whether he was having an affair. Then she made one thing clear. If Miho refused to tell her, she would find that woman herself. Damon said he would handle the police investigation. But Sura suddenly changed her mind. She said she would go in and face the police herself. But there was one condition. No reporters could get a photo of her. Now she did not just want to bury the accident. She wanted to use the police to find the person behind all of this. The next day, before going to the station, Sura had her people release other entertainment news. It was meant to distract the media. She also bribed the police chief to make things easier for herself. Then she claimed the car had actually been stolen earlier. She said she only accidented into someone else's car while chasing the thief. After that, she pulled out photos and steered the police toward one question. Who had the car after that? Miho soon found out Sura had changed her story at the station. He realized right away what it meant. If the investigation kept going, Lena could get dragged into it. To keep Lena's identity from coming out, he immediately told his secretary to hide the car. He also rushed to send the female bodyguard out of the country. But not long after, the secretary reported back that Lena still could not be reached. At the same time, Lena received a gift from Taejun in the secret room. But when she opened it, she found it was empty. Taejun called soon after and said only one thing. What happened next was up to Lena. Meanwhile, Sura had already lost patience. She could not wait for the police to slowly work through the case. The female bodyguard was on her way out of the country. Halfway there, Sura's men stopped her. Then they dragged her to a remote abandoned warehouse. Sura questioned her in person. She demanded to know whom Miho had assigned her to protect. But the female bodyguard would not say a word. In the end, she was badly hurt and could barely stay conscious. That was when Damon found a phone on her. Then he checked the car's system and found a number saved as VIP. Sura stared at the number for a few seconds, then dialed it herself. In the secret room, Lena saw that the call was coming from the bodyguard's phone. She rejected it. Then she tracked the phone's location. The bodyguard was at the warehouse. She immediately called back. Sura answered and demanded to know who she was. How dare she call herself Miho's VIP? Lena did not say a single word. When Sura heard only silence, her tone turned vicious. She said she could track Lena down within a day. Not long after, she received a text. Tomorrow at noon, I'll come and meet you. But on one condition. Let the bodyguard go right now. Sura was still waiting for more, but Lena had already ended the call. Right then, Sura swore she would make this woman pay. The next day was Nancy's birthday. It was also the day Sura was supposed to meet the mysterious woman. The party was held at an elite kindergarten. On the surface, Sura was busy greeting guests. But her mind was fixed on noon. She had already told her assistant what to do. The second that woman showed up, they had to stop her immediately. Miho came too. In front of everyone, the two of them still played the part of a loving couple. But as the minutes kept passing, Sura grew more and more uneasy. She kept asking her assistant whether any unfamiliar woman had come in. The assistant told her everyone there was either a parent or a staff member. What Sura did not know was this. The woman she had been waiting for was already inside. Lena walked into the birthday party in full view of everyone. She was wearing the necklace Miho had given her. She instantly drew every eye in the room. At first, Sura only thought Lena's outfit was far too bold. She did not connect Lena to the woman on the phone right away. But then Sura noticed the necklace. And when she saw Lena walking straight toward her, she finally started to tense up. Across the room, Lena locked eyes with Miho first. Miho could not let anything show. All he could do was watch her walk closer, step by step. Finally, she stopped in front of Sura. Lena told her straight to her face. She was that woman. She lifted a hand to the necklace at her throat. Then she looked over at Miho. That one look made it obvious who had given it to her. Only then did Lena turn back to Sura. By then, Sura understood everything. Her fists clenched at once. Lena looked straight at her and asked why she had done it. She had told Sura to let the bodyguard go. So why had Sura still taken it out on an innocent person? She told Sura not to do something like that again. Lena did not stop there. She brought up the night of Sura's birthday. She brought up the phone call when Sura had asked her for comfort. And she brought up that line about Miho. He was the kind of man no one would want to let slip away. Only then did Sura understand. The person who had betrayed her was Lena. But at that exact moment, the kindergarten director walked over. A TV crew was there for an interview. The director even asked the two good friends to pose together. Sura had no choice but to swallow her anger for the moment. Lena deliberately linked arms with Sura and acted as if they were close. In front of everyone, Sura shook Lena off and called her out of control. Lena immediately reminded Sura to watch what she said. She told Sura not to let people see she had been made a fool of. Miho had been watching all of this from a distance. Once the crowd finally thinned out, he quickly stepped up to Lena. Lowering his voice, he asked why she had suddenly stopped contacting him. He wanted to take her somewhere private and talk everything through. But Lena gave him no chance. Instead, she pressed the proposal that could save LY Group into his hands. Then she coldly told him this was the end for them. Miho instinctively reached out to grab her. Lena pulled her hand back right away. Miho would not accept it. He was about to push her for an answer again. Then he turned and saw Sura staring at them. Lena used that moment to make the break final. Since someone already knew, they could never see each other again. Miho denied it at once and refused to let go. As Sura came closer, she clearly saw the way they looked at each other. The tension only broke when Nancy came running over. Miho gave Sura no explanation at all. He only said one thing. They would talk later. Lena used the chance to leave. Just as expected, Sura immediately chased after her. The second she caught up, she threatened to make Lena pay. Lena did not back down. She coldly reminded Sura that even now, she still had not figured it out. She still did not know how she had been pushed to this point, step by step. And she had no idea what was coming next. Then Lena asked her something else. Had she never once wondered why all of this kept happening to her, one thing after another? Lena did not say anything else. Before turning away, she deliberately wiped the corner of her eye. She made sure Miho saw her as the wronged one. On the ride back, Sura was shaking with rage and kept saying she would never let Lena get away with this. When they reached the Han family home, the first thing Miho did was warn Sura. No one in the Han family was allowed to interfere. Sura shot back immediately. If he was so afraid of things blowing up, then why had he gone after that woman in the first place? This time, Miho did not back down. He said it outright. He had never forgiven her for what she had done back then. Sura understood what that meant. He still had the evidence from back then. So in the end, she did not tell her father. After staying out of sight for a few days, Lena finally went home. Jaehyun thought Lena had come back because she was willing to return to him. Desperate, he tried to make her stay. But Lena had not come back to reconcile. She had come back to force the truth out of him. To keep her from leaving, Jaehyun finally confessed. Back then, he had helped Chairman Han steal the seal. He also named the people who had helped take over Lena's father's company. Lena recorded the whole confession and handed it to Sunja. Sunja wanted to go through legal channels. But a lawsuit was no longer enough for Lena. What Lena wanted was for Sura to lose her marriage, her reputation, and everything she relied on. Piece by piece, until Sura finally collapsed. As Lena's plan moved forward, LY Pay went public in New York. It was the payment subsidiary Miho fully controlled. With that new funding in hand, Miho finally began taking power away from his father. The news broke. Miho's father and Chairman Han both rushed to LY headquarters. But by the time they got there, Miho already had the company locked down. Without Miho's approval, neither of them could get in. The argument at the entrance kept getting worse. Then the two men actually started hitting each other in public. The whole thing was quickly caught on camera. The family's reputation took a hit too. At that very moment, Sura was in a luxury store, shopping like mad. She was trying to suppress her anger at Lena. But then the TV showed the news that LY's subsidiary had gone public. Even the store clerk was congratulating her. The next second, the video of both fathers fighting was already spreading online. Just like that, the Chaebol family was humiliated in public. The moment Sura saw it, she blamed all of it on Lena. After that, Sura could not stay calm anymore. With Taejin's help, Lena rescued the female bodyguard. The bodyguard woke up and learned Lena had saved her. For the first time, her attitude softened. She finally let her guard down. Elsewhere, Miho was at the company's celebration dinner. But he had no interest in it at all. He left in the middle of it and drove straight to find Lena. At the same time, Chairman Han and the others were bruised and battered. They blamed everything on Sura. They wanted to go settle the score with her right away. The second the news reached Sura, she could not sit still anymore. Miho pulled up outside Lena's house. Over the phone, he almost pleaded with her to come out and meet him. Lena still refused. Then Sunja came back and warned Miho right to his face. He had no business being there. Miho had no choice but to leave. After he returned to the company, he received the Bandonian Lena had sent him. Inside, there was a note. It said Lena remembered the pain Miho had carried. She also remembered the pain he and his mother had gone through. The second he read it, Miho completely lost control. By then, Lena had already asked Jaehyun to come downstairs from the office. She had made him think the two of them still had a chance to get back together. And right then, she appeared in front of Miho. Everything Miho had been holding back for so long broke loose at once. He rushed forward and pulled Lena into his arms. The very next second, Jaehyun arrived and saw the whole thing with his own eyes. Everything blew up. Lena even stepped in front of Jaehyun and shielded Miho instead. That only made Jaehyun angrier. He demanded to know why Lena was stopping him and not that man. Miho then stepped forward himself. He said it flat out. He would use the law to stop Jaehyun from getting near Lena again. That pushed Jaehyun over the edge. Jaehyun warned Miho straight out that if this got out, Miho would be finished. Once they got home, Jaehyun dug out every outfit Lena had worn to see Miho. He said he was throwing all of it away. Anything connected to Miho had to go too. Lena stood there beside him and said nothing. Then Jaehyun found the necklace Miho had given Lena and forced her to return it too. Lena deliberately made it worse. She told him not to go picking a fight with Miho. Sunja came in and warned Lena right away. If this kept going, both of their identities could be exposed. But Lena was already past caring about that. Before the truth came out, she had to force Miho and Sura apart for good. The next day, Sura still showed up at the kindergarten like nothing had happened. Parents gathered around her and congratulated her on Miho's company going public in New York. When Lena brought her daughter to the elite kindergarten, she had assumed Sura would not show up that day. The second Lena saw Sura, she knew her plan was already in trouble. The plan she had prepared was no longer going to work. By the time Lena walked into the parents' meeting room, Sura was already sitting there. The applause around her still hadn't died down. The moment she saw Lena, Sura mocked her in front of everyone. She said Lena had no right to be there. Lena did not back down. Lena asked Sura why Sura had suddenly turned against her. Sura gave her no explanation at all. She walked straight up to Lena and slapped her in front of everyone. The whole room went quiet. To the other parents, Lena and Sura had always seemed close. Even after being slapped, Lena kept pressing her. Sura hit her again and snapped at her for daring to talk back. Then she turned to the other parents. She said she was just disciplining a subordinate who had forgotten her place. She warned everyone there not to get close to Lena. No one was allowed to bring Lena into their circle. Anyone who did would be going against her. After that, she told the principal to throw Lena out. Lena had no choice but to leave. Sura watched Lena walk away. Then she said in front of everyone that she wasn't going to let Lena off that easily. Word about what happened spread fast. Meanwhile, Taejun could not focus on his meeting. One question kept bothering him. Had Sura really lost control that day, or had Lena pushed her into reacting like that on purpose? Back at the school, Sura still wasn't done with Lena. She asked Lena to come to the lounge alone. She started by calling Lena nothing more than a disposable tool. She said Miho would never divorce his wife for some woman on the side. Then she deliberately bragged about how Miho had comforted her the night before. Even as she was about to leave, she kept humiliating Lena. That was when Miho walked in. Lena looked at him, but Miho acted like he did not even see her. On his way out, he only gave her a brief glance. He did not even greet her. Lena stayed where she was and watched the two of them walk away. Not long after that, Miho and Sura held a big public ceremony to celebrate the company's listing. On TV, the two of them stood on stage, looking at each other like a couple in love. The second Taejun saw it, he told Lena she needed to adjust her plan. From the outside, those two did not look anything like a couple on the verge of divorce. Lena decided to keep pushing the plan herself. She even left Sunja in Taejun's care. That was when Taejun finally said it outright. He told Lena he would stay on her side no matter what. He also said he would finish this as soon as possible. The next day, he officially became the presidential chief secretary. And the weight of that title showed immediately. Jaehyun contacted a lawyer and prepared to sue Miho. That instantly threw off Lena's original plan. Right then, Sura asked to meet Jaehyun. At the same time, Sunja secretly delivered the documents about Lena's real background to Miho. On the day of the Blue House banquet, Taejun realized that file had already reached Miho. He quickly found a way to switch it out. Then he had Lena call Miho to keep him occupied. On the phone, Miho explained that he had ignored her on purpose that day at the kindergarten. He even asked her to meet him at a hotel. Lena hung up on him without hesitation and refused to go. Then Sunja came in. She told Lena she had made her decision. The following week, she would file the lawsuit against Chairman Han and his daughter under her real name. Once she publicly revealed that she was representing the plaintiff, the life she had built for herself would be over too. She could not keep waiting for someone else to expose her first. So she asked Lena whether she wanted to leave with her. Lena did not agree. She only asked for a little more time. Sunja brought up Lena's recurring dream. She wanted to use it to get Lena to cut things off with Miho completely. She used the dream to warn Lena about what real feelings could do. Once real feelings got involved, people became soft when it mattered most. And for them, softness was the one thing they could not afford. Then Sunja became even more direct. She had been watching Lena ever since Lena was 15. She had already seen that Lena's feelings for Miho had changed. Because of that, things between Lena and Miho had started slipping out of control. After hearing that, Lena could no longer deny what her relationship with Miho had become. Later, Taejun brought over the file he had switched out and placed it in front of Lena. Inside was her complete identity file. It had childhood photos and family background records. It also had documents showing how her father's company had been illegally taken over. If those things had ended up in Miho's hands, Lena's cover would have fallen apart. Everything she had built over the years would have collapsed. Then Taejun warned her about the person who had investigated her so thoroughly. That person was probably not an outsider. It was probably someone who had been close to her all along. By then, Lena could no longer ignore the possibility. For the first time, that possibility felt real. The woman she had always called mom might really have betrayed her. Taejun said nothing else after that. He simply stayed with her quietly through the night. When Sunja got home, the first thing she saw was a text. It said the documents about Lena's identity had already been delivered to Miho. She thought the job was done. But when she walked in, she found Lena sitting alone in the dark. Lena asked her where she had been. Sunja lied and said she had been preparing the lawsuit. Lena did not expose the lie right away. Instead, she brought the conversation back to that dream. Lena told Sunja what she really wanted. She wanted to defeat her enemies with her own hands. She stopped hiding her feelings for Miho, too. But she made one thing clear. Those feelings would not stop her. She would use them too. If anyone tried to interfere again, she would drag that person down with the rest. Sunja could only say yes. Then Lena stopped calling her mom. Instead, she coldly called her teacher. Sura finally started working at LY Group. When she first walked into the company, she still looked a little smug. But the second her father called, her expression changed. She didn't dare answer. She declined the call right away. Even after she sat down in her office, she was still rattled. She did not even check whether Miho had called. Then her phone rang again. This time it was Damon. She still hesitated for a long time before picking up. Damon told her the public backlash had gotten out of hand. Sura knew she could not avoid it anymore. She had to go back. Meanwhile, Lena was in the secret room, organizing the evidence she had gathered against the Han family. Through the listening device, she heard Chairman Han tearing into Sura. In the end, he even said he was going to lock her in the cellar. As soon as he said that, Sura panicked. When she was young, she had seen her mother locked in that cellar and tortured. She quickly begged her father for more time. She said she had already secured the chairman position in Miho's group. Damon tried to speak up for her, too, but Chairman Han would not listen. He only eased up when the conversation turned to taking the shares back. Sura blamed every bit of it on Lena. And through the device, Lena heard every word. Not long after that, Lena texted Sura herself. She asked Sura to come and practice at the dance studio. When Sura saw the message, she was furious. She almost smashed her phone. But she held back. She picked up a metal prop sword and walked over to Miho while he was asleep. Then she stared at his neck for a long time. In the end, she still could not do it. She cried and said that because of her father, there was nothing she could do. Even if she destroyed everything, it would not make her feel any better. After she finished crying, she turned her anger back on Lena. The next day, Sura asked Lena to come to a tango studio. As soon as Lena arrived, Sura played the footage from the elite kindergarten. All the wealthy mothers gathered there saw it. The footage showed Lena switching the bags and deliberately stirring up conflict. The women immediately crowded around her. They started demanding answers. Some accused her of trying to drive people apart. Others said they were disappointed in her. Once that footage spread, the situation blew up fast. Not long after, the Lien Foundation Review Committee made its decision. Lily was expelled from the kindergarten. The performance group was disbanded. And Lena was removed from her role as the parents' vice representative. Sura had wanted to crush her completely with this. But Lena did not fall apart. She only answered coldly, "You really went through all that trouble?" Then she added that maybe this was for the best. That performance group should have been disbanded anyway. Then Lena turned the situation back on Sura. She turned to everyone there and asked them one question. Weren't they curious why Sura hated her so much? Then she asked everyone to leave. After all, the dance studio belonged to her in the first place. Once the room was empty, Lena played a piece of music Sura knew all too well. It was the same song Lena had once used when she was helping Sura. Back then, she had taught Sura how to win Miho back. Only then did Sura realize what was happening. All this time, she had been dancing to Lena's rhythm. Furious, she jumped up and tried to go at her. But Lena began dancing right in front of her. Sura called her out of control. While Lena danced, she asked Sura if she really looked out of control. One of the male bodyguards saw the situation getting out of hand. He moved forward. But then he stopped. Lena took the chance to mock him and Sura, then kept dancing. Sura was furious, but there was nothing she could do. In the end, she could only leave with her people. On the way out, the bodyguard deliberately yanked down a shelf by the door. Everything accident to the floor. But Lena never stopped. She did not try to stop them. She did not even turn around. This was exactly what she wanted everyone outside to see. After that, she called Miho. The phone rang only once before she hung up. She set the phone down and started counting. Less than 3 seconds later, Miho called back, just like she expected. He immediately asked why she had called and then hung up. Then he told her he missed her. Lena went along with it. She said she missed him too. But she said what they were doing was wrong, and she could not get in his way. The second she said that, Miho could not hold back anymore. He insisted on seeing her. Miho said they should keep things quiet for now and keep meeting in secret, just like before. As soon as Lena heard that, she set down her wine glass. She made an excuse and got up to leave. Miho quickly grabbed her. He said he had been thinking about her the whole time. He even reached for her, trying to make her stay. Lena pulled away at once. She only said she had something to do. Then she turned and left, leaving Miho standing there by himself. Around that time, Sura had her secretary call Jaehyun in right away. Jaehyun thought Sura wanted to talk about Miho and Lena. Instead, Sura told him to take his whole family and leave Korea within 10 days. If the truth from 13 years ago ever came out, Jaehyun would end up in prison. Jaehyun tried to explain. Back then, he had only been helping Chairman Han take over Lena's father's company. Sura cut him off before he could finish. The moment Jaehan got home, he said they needed to move to the US. Lena saw the evidence in his bag. That was when she realized Sura was involved too. But she didn't object. She agreed on the spot. Lena waited until Jaehan was busy making arrangements for the move to the US. Then she told Sunja the truth. She had only agreed for now because she wanted to stall. Miho heard that Jaehan had quit and was planning to move the whole family overseas. His expression changed immediately. He kept calling Lena. But she didn't answer a single call. He finally cornered her in a parking garage. Then he asked her straight out if she was really leaving for America. Lena still wouldn't give him a real answer. She only said whether they met again would be up to her. Then she shook off his hand and walked away without looking back. After Taejun took over, problems started piling up for Chairman Han. Meanwhile, Damon also found out about Miho and Lena. Sura had no choice but to keep the mall opening on track and calm her father down. She also had to keep Miho right where he was. Soon after, the mall Sura was overseeing officially opened. At the ceremony, Miho made the announcement in front of everyone. Sura was the owner of the mall. The wealthy women in the room were all staring at the stage. And Sura was enjoying every second of it. But when she looked again, Lena was gone. She looked around again, but still couldn't find her. Sura immediately told her secretary to check the guest list. The secretary said Lena's name wasn't on it at all. Sura still couldn't relax. So she went up to the second floor to look for herself. She searched everywhere but still couldn't find Lena. Just when Sura finally started to breathe easier, she turned around. Lena was already sitting in a private room, waiting for her. Sura forced herself to walk in. She demanded to know if Lena even understood what kind of place this was. She also asked how Lena dared to show up there. Lena only said, "Can't I come congratulate you?" She walked closer with a rose in her hand. Then she leaned close to Sura's ear and told her she looked very sharp today. Sura slapped the flower away right then. But the thorn pricked her finger. Lena looked at the blood and said coldly, "Then go tell your father I did it." Lena kept going. She asked why Sura still hadn't told Chairman Han about Lena and Miho. If Sura wasn't going to say it, maybe Lena should tell him herself. Sura chased her out of the private room. Miho happened to see Sura come out. But he only saw Sura, not Lena. Sura lost it right there. She demanded to know if Miho had been seeing that woman again. Miho didn't even understand what she meant at first. But Sura only got more worked up and thrust her injured hand out for him to see. Miho glanced at it. All he said was that if she waited long enough, the wound would heal on its own. Neither of them knew the truth. The entire fight in that room had already been broadcast through the venue speakers. The guests outside had heard every word Sura had just said. That included the line, "I let that woman off because of you." They also heard, "She should be on her knees in front of me." Even Miho telling her to stop making a scene had gone out through the sound system. The two of them walked back out as if nothing had happened. But by then, everyone around them was looking at them differently. When they got back to the mansion, the servants lined up to congratulate Sura on the grand opening. Sura raised her arm and hurled her bag straight at them. Then she screamed for everyone to get out. She demanded that Miho find a way to shut the whole thing down immediately. Miho didn't even bother arguing with her. He just walked into the study. Before Sura followed him in, she noticed something just outside the study. A microphone was still on. That was when she realized Lena had already tampered with the equipment. A receiver had been plugged into the speakers. And the microphone had been slipped into her bag. Sura grabbed the microphone, stormed into the study, and slammed it down on the desk. She said Lena had come to the mall and slipped something into Sura's bag. Miho didn't believe a word of it. He thought Sura was just trying to blame someone else. Sura got even more worked up. She said Lena had been getting close to her on purpose, then disappearing just as deliberately. She said Lena was completely out of control. Miho told her to shut up. When Sura saw that he was still protecting Lena, she slapped him across the face. Her nails left a cut on his cheek. The argument only got worse. Finally, Sura stormed out and slammed the door behind her. Then Miho heard a quiet little sob from the corner of the sofa. Nancy had been terrified by the fight. She was shaking. Miho went over and picked up his daughter. He apologized while trying to calm her down. Elsewhere, Miho's half-brother ran to their father to complain. He said Sura had taken the mall, and his father-in-law had even been beaten. Miho's father was furious after hearing all that. Then a secretary rushed in with more news. Miho's father's first wife was in critical condition at the hospital. It looked like she might not make it. Meanwhile, Sura locked herself in the bathroom. She started pressing her nails into her arm. A bodyguard saw her and rushed over, asking if something had happened. Sura stayed in the bathroom. She kept repeating Lena's words over and over as she lost control. But Lena's words weren't the only thing echoing in her head. A scene from childhood kept coming back too. Her mother had begged Sura for help. But in the end, Sura still did what her father said and locked the door. Meanwhile, Lena was at the hideout. She was playing a tango on the piano. She was waiting for Miho to show up. The music had barely stopped when Miho burst in. He asked if she had leaked what happened at the mall on purpose. Lena didn't answer that directly. She just looked at him. Then she asked, "Is that all I am to you? Someone you keep hidden away?" Then she made herself clear. She said she would not keep meeting him in secret like this. And she would not accept him showing up only when he wanted to see her. Miho tried to explain. But it was already too late. Then Lena casually took out a stack of cash and threw it at him. She said coldly, she was the one who had asked him to stay that night. So she should be the one to pay. Lena kept pushing him. She said a man who couldn't even make decisions about his own life wasn't worth holding on to. Finally, Miho said one last thing. "Then let's never see each other again." And he turned to leave. But the very next second, Lena wrapped her arms around him from behind. The moment he stopped, she shoved him away. Then she said, "See? The one who decides whether we meet again isn't you. It's me." She told Miho to go back for now. She would decide the rest. Miho was furious. She would pull him close, then push him away. He turned and left. Taejun was still waiting for Lena's call. But before Lena called, Chairman Han came to him first. Chairman Han said right away that he wanted revenge on Miho and his father. If a softer approach didn't work, he would use a harsher one. Meanwhile, Lena was listening through a hidden bug. That was when she found out Miho had already agreed to Sura's terms. Sura didn't just want to bury the public controversy. She wanted Lena herself to kneel in front of her. Only then did Lena finally understand. Miho's earlier words were connected to everything that was happening now. Not long after that, Taejun told her about Miho's situation too. Lena dressed like a wealthy society wife and went straight to the LK Group building. When Miho saw her, the two of them went back to the hideout again. Lena reminded him of something. Chairman Han was already preparing to make a move against him. There was a real chance Chairman Han would use the secret funds against Miho. He could force Miho to hand over his shares. Miho asked how she knew that. Lena said Taejun had told her. Miho asked again, "Why would Taejun tell you something like that?" Lena only said, "Because Taejun knows I'm worried about you." Miho looked at her, still unable to trust her completely. Then he tested her. He asked if she had already decided to go to America with her husband. Lena answered right away. "I've already decided." Just then, Secretary Cha called and said Mrs. O had passed away. Soon, news of Mrs. O's death spread quickly. Sura found out Miho had gone back to the Kang family. He had gone to the funeral alone. She immediately called and demanded to know why he hadn't taken her with him. Lena was the one who had driven Miho there. Reporters were crowded outside the Kang family home. Miho stood at the entrance and instinctively took a step back. Lena told him to go in. Only then did Miho step inside. After Lena left the Kang family home, she didn't go straight back. She went to Taejun's house instead. There, she finally said out loud what she planned to do next. This time, she was done staying in the shadows. She was going to face Sura, Chairman Han, and Damon herself. She would do it as the woman standing by Miho's side. Taejun was worried. Once she revealed herself, it would only create even bigger trouble. But Lena said it plainly. She was not going to stop. The next day, Chairman Han arrived at the Kang family home. The chief prosecutor and a whole group of people came with him. As soon as Sura walked in, she threw herself at her father and burst into tears. Her sister-in-law stood nearby making snide remarks. She said Sura might as well be an actress. Then Sura saw Lena again. This time, Taejun had brought Lena there as a friend. As they were leaving, Lena deliberately fell into Miho's arms. Sura's brother and sister-in-law happened to see the whole thing. They immediately figured out who Lena was. Lena was the woman everyone had been talking about. Sura rushed over at once and shouted for Lena to leave immediately. In the struggle, Lena's phone fell to the floor. Sura stepped right on the back of Lena's hand. The shouting quickly brought Chairman Han over. Miho saw there was no way to keep it hidden anymore. So he told his father-in-law he would explain everything later in private. Then he picked up his daughter and walked away. Sura's brother and sister-in-law just stood there watching the whole thing unfold. Lena took the chance to lean in and whisper something in Chairman Han's ear. The second Sura saw that, she panicked. She grabbed Lena and told her to shut up. But right in front of Chairman Han, Lena said she had not come today because of Miho. This was not about anything between them. Then she added one more thing. It looks like your daughter has been hiding quite a lot from you. Chairman Han immediately asked what secret she was talking about. Damon saw the situation getting out of control. He raised his hand as if he was about to hit someone. Taejun arrived just in time and took Lena away. By the time Lena left, Sura was completely shaken. Meanwhile, Sunja held a private press conference for the LY group victims. She filed a lawsuit against Chairman Han and Sura. Then she released evidence of their wrongdoing. At the end, she thanked the lawyers who had honored the confidentiality agreement all this time. She also said that from now on, she would face this head-on. Chairman Han learned that Miho had been involved with another woman all along. He was furious right away. He immediately ordered Damon to find out who that woman was. After Miho said everything he needed to say, he actually felt relieved. Meanwhile, Lena had already changed clothes and was quietly waiting for his call. The call came soon after. Miho asked her what she really wanted. Lena paused for a moment, then answered him plainly. She did not want to keep meeting him in secret like this. What she wanted was to stand beside him openly, in front of everyone. After the call ended, Miho finally made up his mind. Everything that had been weighing on him for all these years came rushing back. All at once. After the funeral, Miho returned home and finally told Sura everything. He told her he was tired. For all these years, he had been living the life other people wanted him to live. That was when it finally hit Sura. Miho had already made up his mind to divorce her. Miho walked out of the mansion with his men behind him. Sura completely lost control. She grabbed at Miho's clothes and tore at them like she'd lost control. Then all at once, she remembered their daughter was still at school. She immediately told Secretary Kim to get the car ready. By the time Sura got to the kindergarten, Miho had already taken Nancy away. She was still yelling at the principal when she suddenly saw Lena. Sura lunged at her right away. But Miho's bodyguards stepped in and blocked her. They gave her only one answer: the chairman had ordered it. Their job now was to protect Lena. Lena told the guards to take Lily away first and stayed where she was. Sura let out a cold laugh and mocked her. No matter how hard Lena tried, she would never pass as upper class. Lena told her to take a good look. Miho had already started taking Lena's side. Then Lena said it directly. Once Sura lost her husband, her money, and her position, everything she had would disappear. Sura's expression changed right away. She grabbed Lena and threatened her. Lena looked back at her and asked one question. Was Sura planning to make Lena end up like the other two women she had ruined? After that, Lena turned and walked away. Sura stared at her back. Then she immediately pulled out her phone and called her bodyguard. Miho and Lena brought Nancy back to the place where they had been hiding out. They started living there together. The second Nancy heard she could spend the summer there, she lit up. She kept saying how much she liked it. Seeing his daughter so happy, Miho finally smiled too. Then he took Lena's hand and told her he wanted to be with her. With Lena and Nancy, he felt truly relaxed for the first time in his life. But Miho still didn't know one thing. Lena had gotten close to him for revenge from the very beginning. Sura still wasn't stopping. She ordered her bodyguard to keep digging for something she could use against Lena. She wanted to turn public opinion against her and destroy her. Even if there was no public controversy, she would make one up. Then the bodyguard gave her another piece of news. Damon was secretly investigating Lena too. Sura immediately gave him one order. No matter what he found, it had to come to her first. When Taejun found out Damon was secretly investigating Lena, he arranged to meet him privately. Taejun didn't waste any time. He confronted Damon about moving company funds improperly and moving the money into a Swiss bank account. Then he asked whether Chairman Han knew about it. Damon's expression changed instantly. Taejun took that chance to warn him. He told Damon to stay away from Lena. Damon had no choice but to agree. At the same time, Sunja had already joined forces with the victims from LY Group's semiconductor cancer case. Together, they were getting ready to file a lawsuit. She wasn't just holding evidence for the case. She also had proof that Chairman Han and Damon had siphoned off secret funds. But Lena didn't want any of it exposed to the media yet. To stop Sunja, Lena altered the secret room system. That forced a face-to-face meeting with her. Once they met, Lena laid out her terms. The lawsuit could go on. But their identities could not be exposed yet. And Sunja could not appear in person. Lena still wanted to keep investigating her mother's death. And she wanted to see Sura fall with her own eyes. Sunja heard her out and called it exactly what it was. This wasn't a discussion. It was a threat. Lena didn't deny it. She gave only one warning. If someone broke the rules first, she wouldn't hold back anymore. When Taejun came to the hideout, Miho was the one who opened the door. That was how he found out Lena was already living there with Miho. After Miho left, Taejun handed Lena the draft for the lawsuit. Then he asked why she had to go this far. Until now, Lena had told him every step of her revenge plan ahead of time. Only one thing had been kept from him, the fact that Lena had moved in with Miho. Because of that, Taejun couldn't help wondering about one thing. Had Lena started feeling something for Miho beyond revenge? Lena gave him a simple answer. Living with Miho was part of the plan too. She needed this to get closer to the evidence. Taejun didn't press her any further. But before he left, he still warned her. If she really fell in love with the man she was trying to destroy, she would probably be the one who got hurt in the end. That night, Taejun's words stayed in Lena's head and wouldn't go away. She heard Miho playing the piano in his room. Right away, memories of the two of them growing closer flashed through her mind. Taejun's warning came rushing back too. Lena stood there frozen, and tears suddenly poured down her face. Before Miho could notice anything, she grabbed a flower pot. Then she smashed it to the floor. The sound of it shattering cut off the piano at once. Then Lena slipped into an empty corner. She pulled out the small grooming tool she had prepared earlier. She forced herself to steady her breathing. The sting pulled her back to reality in an instant. Early the next morning, Lena took Nancy to school. She deliberately told the principal that Miho and Nancy were now living with her and her daughter. The principal's expression changed right away. Then the principal passed the news along. As soon as Sura heard, she ordered someone to tail Lena. Before long, her people reported back. Lena was in the car, and Nancy was with her. If they kept following them, they could probably find Miho's new place. What Sura didn't know was that Lena had already noticed she was being followed. Lena called Miho first. She told him someone seemed to be tailing her. The person was trying to use her car to find where they lived. The second Miho heard that, he rushed straight to the kindergarten. But he had no idea the call was meant to lure him away first. The moment the call ended, Lena turned the car around. Then she drove straight back to the place they were staying. Meanwhile, Sura was still waiting to hear what the person following Lena had found. When her phone rang, she thought Lena's tail had found the house. Instead, it was her former dance partner calling to demand money. Sura had no time for that. She cursed him out and hung up. Right now, the only thing she cared about was Lena. Meanwhile, Chairman Han was frantically wiping down a weapon. Damon stood beside him and reported that Lena's background couldn't be traced at all. On the surface, she looked like nothing more than an ordinary housewife. But the deeper they dug, the less they found. Chairman Han listened, then coldly asked, "So what?" Right then, Sura called. She got straight to the point. Miho was living with that woman now. That was all it took. Chairman Han exploded. He yanked open a toolbox and grabbed a heavy tool. Then he headed straight for the place where Miho and Lena were staying. When he got there, he started smashing at the door and screaming for them to come out. He kept shouting that he was going to make them pay. At the same time, Miho arrived at the kindergarten and found no sign of Lena. She wasn't there. He couldn't reach her by phone either. Just as panic started setting in, his phone suddenly rang again. When he answered, he heard his daughter crying for help. Miho drove back to their place as fast as he could. The second he stopped the car, he saw police vehicles lined up outside. Broken pieces of a flower pot were scattered across the ground. He froze. But when he rushed inside, he found Lena and the two girls were safe. Lena told him she had sensed something was wrong on the way back. That was why she had no choice but to return home first. Not long after that, Chairman Han had shown up carrying a weapon. Luckily, a passerby called the police before anyone got hurt. On the way to the company, Miho realized one thing. He couldn't hide that he was living with Lena anymore. His men told him the rumors about him and Lena were already spreading through financial circles. That was exactly what Lena had planned. She had exposed the relationship on purpose. That way, she could put even more public pressure on Sura. Soon, the public controversy involving Miho and LY Group spread online. Everyone was trying to figure out who this mysterious woman was. Sura watched the news on TV, shaking with anger. Then her father called. Panicking, Sura tried to explain. She had already used her connections to take down the posts online. But Chairman Han didn't want to hear it. He roared that the story had already spread everywhere. What good was deleting it now? Then he demanded to know what Miho was trying to do. Sura could only say she found the whole thing outrageous too. Then she begged her father to give her a little more time. After the call ended, she was still trembling. The next second, she grabbed a vase and hurled it against the wall. The story kept spreading. Even people inside the Blue House had started talking about it. The moment Taejun heard that, he knew this was another step in Lena's plan. Chairman Han still hadn't calmed down. He was already plotting what to do next. Sunja was worried the public controversy was getting too big. She pushed Lena to wrap everything up within 2 weeks. Lena said 2 weeks was enough. Then she called Miho. Sura hadn't slept all night, and before long she heard even worse news. Miho had officially filed for divorce. As the news kept spreading, LY Group's stock price started to fall too. Only then did the Han family realize the group itself was being hit. Chairman Han immediately shifted his focus to the divorce case. He wanted to use a countersuit to take back control of LY Group. A listening device picked up the whole conversation and relayed it to Lena. At the same time, Sura bribed one of the family's personal bodyguards. She ordered him to take Lena away without her father or Miho knowing. Taejun told Lena that Chairman Han had officially moved ahead with the divorce case. Once the divorce battle began, Sunja's side would submit the evidence too. The chance to completely destroy Miho was finally right in front of her. But Lena fell silent. After Lena returned to the place they were staying, the past few days with Miho kept replaying in her head. But the instant she stepped inside, she saw the whole room filled with flowers. Miho told her he had brought in Cosmos flowers just for her. The second she heard that, Lena was pulled straight back into memories of her father. Before she could even recover, Miho took her to a church. When the doors opened, everything inside had already been prepared. Lena could only follow as he led her step by step toward the altar. Meanwhile, Sura sat at home, unable to calm down. Lena's words kept echoing in her head. Once she lost her husband, her money, and her status, she would soon have nothing left. The pressure pounded in her head until she collapsed back onto the sofa. Then all at once, she saw the photo she had taken with the president and the first lady. She stared at it. Little by little, her expression turned cold. In silence, she told herself again that Miho was her husband. She would never let anyone take him away. Inside the church, Miho pulled out a ring and proposed to Lena. He told her that with her, he felt truly understood for the first time in his life. And it was the first time he had wanted to spend the rest of his life with someone. Then he put the ring on her finger. He asked if she would spend the rest of her life with him. Lena answered yes at first. But Miho kept looking at her. Sunja's reminder in Taejun's warning came flooding back. All the vows Lena had made over the years came back too. Her breathing got faster and faster. Then she collapsed right there. Miho rushed over and called her name. After she passed out, Lena slipped into a nightmare. In that dream, she hurt Miho in the dream. As she watched him fall, she broke down too. And just like that, the proposal was over. To get back at Lena, Sura moved fast and reached out to the high society women she knew. She used Hayami's family connections to spread the public controversy as far as she could. As soon as she got off the phone, she told her secretary to release all the dirt they had gathered. She wanted public opinion to do the rest and crush Lena completely. Then Sura deliberately made herself look exhausted and went to see the first lady in tears. But right after leaving the Blue House, she got a call from her bodyguard. Lena was out walking on the beach with Miho. Sura snapped on the spot and ordered them to bring Lena back. She even said it did not matter if something happened to Lena while they were dragging her away. Taejun soon heard from the secretary that Sura had already launched the media attack. While he was still worried about that, Sunja asked to meet him. She handed Taejun a file and asked him to persuade Lena to come back. Taejun opened it. Inside, he found Lena's old medical records from years earlier. They dated back to the time she had went through a very dark period. Sunja told him that after her parents died, Lena had suffered from panic disorder for a long time. She said Lena had fainted on the spot after seeing Miho propose at the church. Later, Lena had even went through a very dark period. The second Taejun finished reading, he rushed to the hideout. He tried to talk Lena into leaving. But Lena would not listen to him at all. Taejun had no choice but to turn around and walk away. Miho was busy dealing with the public controversy and had no idea Lena was already in danger. The bodyguard Sura sent showed up with a group of men in black suits. They surrounded Lena. Lena turned and tried to run, but there were people behind her too. Just when she was about to be dragged away, Tae-joon came back. He charged forward and stepped in. In the chaos, Lena managed to break free and got behind Tae-joon. One of the bodyguards saw Tae-joon tangled up with the others. Then he lunged straight at Lena. Tae-joon turned and rushed over, throwing himself in front of her. He took the sharp object meant for Lena. Tae-joon could barely hold himself up. He told Lena not to think about anything else. She had to protect herself first. Then he collapsed to the ground, bleeding badly. The bodyguard realized things had gone too far and ran from the scene. Lena tore off part of her clothing right there to stop Tae-joon's bleeding. She fought to hold him up and cried, begging him not to close his eyes. Not long after that, Miho realized Lena was missing. He immediately sent people everywhere to find her. By the time he got back to the hideout, Lena was already there, covered in stains. She told Miho that Sura's men had almost taken her away. The person who had stepped in to save her was badly hurt. Miho pressed her, asking what that person looked like. Lena did not answer. She only told Miho that Sura could use the media to corner her. Sura could even send people to take her by force. Lena said she did not want to keep hiding. She did not want everyone calling her a bad woman anymore. If things had already gone this far, then she wanted Miho to reveal who she really was. Early the next morning, Miho took Lena to the company. At the entrance of LY Group, the top executives were already lined up waiting. Miho personally helped Lena out of the car and brought her into full view. Then he put Lena right at the center of the company's power structure. On her first day there, Lena made one thing clear. She would turn the company's crisis into a chance to fight back. Elsewhere, Chairman Han heard that Lena had been put in charge of a core department. He flew into a rage. Damon also realized there was more to Lena than he had thought. With nowhere else to aim his anger, Chairman Han turned on his son-in-law. He filed a major divorce lawsuit in his daughter's name. The second Sura found out, she ran back to her family home. She demanded an explanation from her father. She had no intention of getting divorced. She said all she wanted was for Lena to disappear. But in the end, all she got was a harsh scolding from her father. And at that very moment, Lena was hidden inside a secret room nearby. She heard every word Chairman Han and Sura said. Lena knew Chairman Han had already started to sense that things were changing. And if he kept digging, the things that had been buried in the past might start coming back up too. Later, Lena went to the hospital to see Tae-joon. She told him something important. After those people caused what happened to her mother, they covered it up. They wiped away the evidence. Tae-joon said he had to recover from his injuries first. Only after he got out of the hospital could he keep helping her. Lena saw that Tae-joon had ended up in danger because of her. Because of that, she tried to push him away. She did not want him dragged in any further. But Tae-joon still made it clear that all he wanted was to stay by her side. Lena looked at him, and her expression changed. At the same time, two high society women were getting their nails done. Lena's female bodyguard came by with a message and played a recording for them. The recording made one thing clear. Sura was the one who had used the male dancers to set them up. The two women realized Sura had played them. They exploded with rage and immediately sent people to find those dancers. Once the dancers were threatened, they ran straight to the police. They reported that Sura had pushed them to do it. Reporters nearby happened to overhear them. The public controversy broke on the spot. When Sura heard it was all out in the open, her legs gave out. She collapsed onto the sofa. Even the First Lady cut ties with her immediately. Sura had lost every backer she had. All she could do was sit there alone, trying desperately to keep her panic under control. Then she heard footsteps outside. Sura thought Miho had come back. But the one who walked in was Lena, dressed all in white. Sura could not believe it. She instantly ordered the servants to throw Lena out. In the end, Sura was the one dragged out. Photos of Sura's family still hung on the walls. But the person standing inside that mansion now was Lena. Later, Lena sent Miho a text. She said she had only talked Sura into going back to her parents' house. In reality, she had thrown Sura out herself. With nowhere else to go, Sura ran to the company to try and win Miho back. She cried as she explained that the divorce filing was not her doing. She even said she would cut ties with her father if Miho would just give her one more chance. Miho only told her coldly that it was too late. He even said that if she agreed to a divorce settlement, she could keep all the property. But Sura did not want the money. She only wanted to keep Miho. Miho stood up and left. Then Sura saw the new wedding ring on his hand. That was the moment she completely broke down. All she could do was cry and shout after him, but Miho never turned back. But ending the marriage was not enough for Lena. She was still going after Sura. Sura went back to the empty house where she was staying and shut herself inside. She was already close to falling apart. Meanwhile, Lena moved into the mansion with Lily and their luggage. Nancy welcomed Lily warmly and showed her around as if she were the host. Miho watched the scene with a smile. Lena deliberately said she was only staying for a few days. The more she said that, the harder it became for Miho to let her go. But Lena had another reason for moving in. She wanted to enter the secret room and find evidence of Chairman Han's wrongdoing. That would push her revenge one step further. At the same time, Sura's bodyguard brought her another update. Taejun had not left his place for days. That only made Sura more uneasy. She knew that if anyone pulled on that thread too, things would get even worse. Taejun had risked his life to save Lena. Sura did not dare think too hard about why. Then the bodyguard suddenly remembered one detail from that day. Lena had called Taejun attorney. Sura grabbed onto that immediately. She ordered the bodyguard to find out when the two of them had first met. Elsewhere, Lena followed Miho into the study, but her eyes kept drifting to the hidden door of the secret room. Lena used Nancy as an excuse. She said she wanted to help the child adjust to life without her mother. So she asked to stay home with Nancy the next day. Soon after that, Sura's bodyguard found out that 7 years earlier, Sunja and Lena had signed a housing contract together. He also learned that Taejun had grown up in an orphanage. When Sura heard Sunja's name, she suddenly went still. She stood in the living room, repeating that name under her breath. Little by little, her expression changed. It did not take long for her to finally remember who Sunja was. Back at the mansion, Lena stayed home and played with blocks with the two children. Watching that scene made Miho happy, but something about it still bothered him. Lena had an important meeting that day, so why was she staying home to play with the kids? Lena quickly said the meeting could wait until tomorrow. That day, Nancy mattered more to her. Miho grew suspicious. But he did not press further and soon walked away. The second Miho left, the smile vanished from Lena's face. She started telling the children a fairy tale. Soon, Nancy grew sleepy and began yawning. Then Lena casually suggested they play hide and seek. Both kids got excited right away. Lily would be the seeker. Lena used that chance to bring Nancy into Miho's study. Lena knew Nancy knew where the secure secret room was. Sure enough, Nancy pressed the switch and entered the password with practiced ease. Standing behind her, Lena watched Nancy's fingers and memorized the code. The door to the secret room slowly opened, but Lena did not go in right away. First, she asked the housekeeper to take the children outside to play. She said she needed to make a phone call. The staff did not think much of it and quickly led the children away. The next second, Lena dropped the gentle act completely. She walked into the study alone. Then she entered the password and opened the secret room without trouble. She was looking for one contract. It was the one Damon and Chairman Han had once forced her father to sign. They had used violence to make him do it. But she searched and still could not find it. Then a contract file with dark stain on the cover caught her eye. She opened it. Inside was a full record of the violence and pressure her father had been put through. The instant Lena saw that contract, all her memories came crashing back. Images of her father's brutal death mixed with memories of the family they once had. She lost control on the spot, trembling and sobbing. And right then, Miho came back and caught her there. He demanded to know what Lena was doing and when she had come back. Lena had no choice but to force herself to explain. She said they had been playing hide and seek. Nancy had run in there. She had only started tidying up because she was worried the files might fall over. Miho did not believe her at all. He was about to step forward and check for himself. Then the children came back and interrupted them. Seeing her father angry, Nancy stepped in. She took the blame herself. Miho immediately picked his daughter up and started comforting her. He left with the children. But the look he gave Lena was full of suspicion. After Miho walked out, the emotions Lena had been holding back finally broke loose. She was overwhelmed with pain. Meanwhile, Sunja had just returned home when she sensed something was wrong. She thought Lena might be there and called out for her. Then she looked over and saw Sura's bodyguard in black standing in the corner. Lena hurried to the hospital. She told Taejun that Miho had caught her entering the secret room. Because of that unexpected interruption, she had failed to get the contract. That contract could bring Chairman Han down. Taejun did not say it out loud. But he was already beginning to worry that Miho had grown suspicious. After leaving Taejun's room, Lena immediately called Sunja. No one answered. So Lena sent over the photos she had secretly taken of the contract in the secret room. Then she explained what had happened. At the same time, Sunja had already been taken to an empty building. When she woke up, the first person she saw was Sura. Sura soon revealed that she knew the truth. Sunja and Lena were not really mother and daughter. Sura started to wonder why Sunja and Lena had gotten close to Sura in the first place. She thought it might be revenge for the LY semiconductor researcher who had died years ago. Sunja was so enraged by the look on Sura's face that she spat directly at her. And when Sura saw the hatred in Sunja's eyes, she smiled instead. To Sura, that only proved she had guessed right. After Lena got home, Miho was already there, waiting for an explanation. Lena still insisted that she had only wandered into the secret room. She said it happened while she was playing hide-and-seek with the children. But Miho had already realized she was lying. Now that Sura had evidence in her hands, her mood lifted immediately. She carefully dressed herself up. Then she told her secretary to find out Miho's schedule. She planned to expose Lena's real motive right in front of him. Then Sura went to see Lena and started mocking her coldly. After getting a call from her secretary, Sura confirmed that Miho was already downstairs waiting. She smiled and walked off. Lena realized right away that something was wrong. She knew Sura had taken Sunja. She also knew Sura had uncovered their real identities. Downstairs, Miho was sitting there drinking tea. Sura came over looking polished and perfectly put together. Miho was afraid Sura might lose control again and scare the children. So he immediately told the secretary to take the kids away. Sura kept acting pitiful, but Miho was already tired of that version of her. Then Lena came downstairs too. Her face was pale, and she looked exhausted. Miho thought Sura had done something to Lena again. But Sura said to him, "You're going to thank me for this." To keep Miho from noticing anything strange, Lena forced herself to sit beside him. This was the moment Sura had been waiting for. Right in front of Miho, Sura asked if he knew who the woman beside him really was. Miho tried to stop her. But Sura had already pulled out her evidence. She slapped the photos from the file onto the table, one by one, right in front of him. They were photos of school records from when Seonmi entered high school years ago. But the name on those records was not Seonmi. It was Lena. Right there in front of Miho, Sura finally exposed the real name Lena had been hiding all along. Miho didn't budge. Sura didn't push him any further. She slowly poured the ink into the tea. The tea turned into a dark, ink-stained liquid. After the two children left, Lena quickly explained the situation to Miho. Seonmi was the name her mother had used after she remarried, after Lena's father died. Miho said he understood. But he kept testing Lena with Sura's words. Lena looked right back at him and asked if he was starting to doubt her too. Miho stared at her for a moment. In the end, he tore up the papers Sura had left, right in front of Lena. When they were about to head home, Lena waited until Miho and the child had gotten into the car. Then she secretly texted her female bodyguard. Lena told the bodyguard to quietly pick up the shredded documents from the table. Back at the mansion, Lena waited until Miho and the child were asleep. Then she slipped out and called Taejun. She told him Sura already knew her real identity. She said she had managed to keep Miho calm for now. But their revenge had to move faster. After hanging up, Lena hurried back inside. Lena didn't know Miho was standing by the window. He watched her make that late-night call and hurry back inside. He saw everything, but said nothing. The next day, Lena used her executive position at LY Group to go after the two men who had betrayed her father years ago. The first one was Manager Lim. The moment he arrived at the company, prosecutors stopped him. Before he could even react, Lena stepped out, dressed in white. She ordered an investigation and had prosecutors take him away right there. The other man who had sold out Lena's father was Jaehyun, now in the United States. He was told to cooperate with the investigation. If he refused, the evidence would be sent straight to the prosecutors. Jaehyun saw footage showing Lena as the head of LY Group's strategic planning department. Only then did he realize he was finished. Meanwhile, Miho found out that Lena had suddenly cancelled all her plans for the day. He got suspicious right away. Lena had cleared her schedule to look for Sunja, who had gone missing. But the second she stepped inside, she saw the whole place in disarray. Nothing had been stolen. Even the cash in the wallet was untouched. Lena realized right away that this was never about money. She immediately suspected that Sunja had been taken by Sura. Lena turned and left at once. But Miho had already started following her. He stayed on her trail and watched her walk into a hospital. Inside, Lena told Taejun Sunja was missing. She also said the phone in Sunja's bag was gone. The number had already been shut off. Taejun suggested calling the police. Lena insisted on seeing Sura first. Taejun wanted to leave the hospital and help her himself. But the knife wound in his lower back was too severe. He couldn't even straighten up. He could only say one thing. Before anything like that could happen to Lena, he would make the first move. After Lena left the hospital, she got back in the car. Miho kept following behind. Taejun's assistant happened to notice Miho following her. The assistant recognized the driver of the car behind Lena. It was Miho. Taejun turned to look. Only then did he realize Miho had been watching Lena in secret all this time. He immediately called Miho and asked to meet. At the meeting, Taejun got straight to it. He said he had been attacked. He suspected it was either Miho or someone from Chairman Han's side. As far as everyone else was concerned, they were all on the same side anyway. Then Miho finally asked the real question. He asked Taejun directly whether he loved Lena. Taejun didn't dodge the question. He only said one thing. In the end, Lena wouldn't stay by Miho's side. That was enough to stop Miho cold. Meanwhile, Sura was still carrying gifts for her in-laws, hoping she could return to the family. Then Lena showed up in person. Lena warned her that Miho could never find out about her relationship with that bodyguard. If he did, things would get ugly fast. She also brought up Taejun's attack. If the truth came out, Sura would be in serious trouble. When Sura got back, one thing was clear to her. Her relationship with the bodyguard couldn't be exposed to anyone else. She ordered him right there to keep a close watch on Sunja. Sunja was being held in the warehouse. Sura even said they might need to send Sunja back. Lena then slipped into Miho's study. She wanted to get into the hidden room. The evidence that could bring down Chairman Han was inside. But she hadn't expected Miho to change the passcode. Miho was watching her through the monitor the whole time. He still didn't stop her. After a long silence, he turned and called Lena. He told her to go into the vault and take a box tied with a ribbon. Lena asked if it was really okay for her to go in. Miho said yes. Then he gave her the code over the phone. Lena opened the hidden room and took the original contract. Then she immediately called Taejun to say she had it. Sura went to Miho again and told him Lena had only gotten close to him for revenge. Miho said he had every reason not to love Lena. But after everything that had happened, he still couldn't let her go. If Lena needed something and he could give it to her, he would. After hearing that, Sura could only say he had lost his mind. Miho then told her the truth. He had never loved Sura. And she needed to give up. Sura tried to follow him, but Miho had already turned and walked away. She shouted after him that he would regret it. He never stopped. Soon after, Chairman Han learned that someone was secretly joining forces with the victims. They were preparing to sue him. He immediately asked Taejun whether he knew anything. Taejun acted like he was hearing it for the first time. But inside, he was already on alert. After he left, Damon started digging into Sunja's identity, using everything he could find. Sura's bodyguard overheard it, and his expression changed instantly. Damon wrote down Sunja's address and handed it to the bodyguard. Damon told him to check it out. Then he casually asked, "What's wrong with you?" Back at the mansion, Lena stood looking at a family photo of Miho, Sura, and the child. Then she called Sura and gave her a final warning. Lena said she would leave that very night. But Sunja had to come back alive first. Sura kept acting tough. She said Lena was the desperate one now, not her. Lena said Sura couldn't keep dragging this out. If she did, her relationship with the bodyguard would be exposed too. After hanging up, Sura immediately called the bodyguard and told him to send Sunja back. But when she rushed to the warehouse, Sunja was already gone. Taejun warned Lena that Chairman Han might trace everything back to Sunja. Lena knew the mansion was no longer safe for her. Before leaving, she handed Secretary Cha the item Miho had told her to take from the hidden room. But Secretary Cha told her Chairman Han wanted to speak to her in person. Lena followed him to a newly built villa. When she walked in, Miho was already there waiting. He told her this would be their home from now on. He had also transferred 30% of LY Group's shares to her. He said he had already put everything he could give her right in front of her. For a moment, Lena couldn't say a word. Later, Lena handed the contract she had taken from the hidden room to Taejun. That contract was enough to bring Chairman Han down. She told Taejun she hadn't stolen it. Miho had opened the hidden room himself. He had let her go in and take the contract. Taejun heard this and said they could still choose not to release the contract. Lena refused. She hadn't given up on avenging her parents. She just didn't want to keep deceiving Miho. So this time, she decided to tell him everything herself. She called him and asked to meet. Miho agreed right away and said he would come at once. But the second the call ended, Miho got a notice from the prosecution. He learned the group was being sued jointly by the victims. By then, the bodyguard had already taken Sunja through a secret passage near Chairman Han's house and locked her up. As soon as he left, Sunja used the recording device sewn into her clothes. With it, she sent Lena a distress message. Lena got the message. She had no choice but to put off her meeting with Miho and rush to save Sunja. When Miho arrived at their meeting place, Lena never showed up. Then Secretary Cha put Miho's father on the phone. Miho's father warned him about the NF acquisition and merger. If it came to light again, the whole LY group would collapse. Then he mentioned a woman named Sunja. She was one of the lawsuit representatives. She was preparing the case with the daughter of NF company's owner. The moment Miho heard the name Sunja, he remembered that woman. She was the one he had always believed was Lena's mother. The phone in Sunja's pocket was still recording. Sura had no idea. She anxiously urged Damon to hand Sunja over. She even said that because of this woman, all of them could die. Chairman Han went through the materials from the victims' joint lawsuit. But something felt wrong. There were too many details in those documents. They could only have come from the most private conversations inside the house. In the end, one of his men found the listening device. Lena had planted it earlier while bringing in tea. It was hidden under the sofa in the living room. Meanwhile, Lena returned to her dance studio as usual. She went straight upstairs and entered the hidden room. Sura kept thinking about how cold Miho had become toward her. She also kept thinking about the things he had said to Lena. She finally lost control. The moment the bodyguard walked in, she slapped him across the face. Then she shouted at him for handing Sunja over. Then she ordered him to bring Sunja there no matter what. Midnight got closer and closer. That was the time she and Lena had agreed on. Sura completely fell apart. Back home, Miho opened the hidden room in his study. He confirmed that Lena had taken the original contract. It proved the illegal acquisition of NF Semiconductor. To confirm what was going on, he immediately drove to Sunja's place. But Secretary Cha told him nobody was there anymore. Meanwhile, Lena was in the hidden room at the dance studio, desperately trying to find Sunja. In the end, she used the tracker sewn into Sunja's clothes. The signal led her somewhere near Chairman Han's house. The second Tae-jun heard that, he reported it to the police. Then he prepared to send officers there to rescue her. And just then, Miho tracked Lena all the way to the dance studio. He saw her car parked outside. He immediately suspected that something was hidden there. Lena was too focused on Sunja's disappearance. She never noticed someone had followed her to the door. Miho came right up to the entrance of the dance studio and saw Lena's car still outside. Then he deliberately had his driver trigger the car door alarm. When Lena heard it, she had no choice but to leave the hidden room and go check. She rushed all the way downstairs to the front door. By the time she shut off the alarm and turned back, the upstairs door was still open. Miho had already followed the path she had just taken. He had entered the hidden room. That was how Miho found his way into the revenge base Lena had kept hidden for so long. The second he saw what was inside, he froze. One wall was covered with live surveillance feeds. The screens also showed location tracking for Miho's family and Chairman Han's household. The other wall was filled with flowcharts of the revenge plan. Photos of everyone involved were there too. Miho's picture was there too. Only then did Miho finally understand. From beginning to end, he had been nothing more than another part of Lena's plan. He demanded to know where the contract was. Lena told him not to come any closer. Then she pulled the main switch. The hidden room plunged into darkness, and she ran out. Miho chased after her. In the chaos, Lena shoved him away before he could react. Miho lost his balance and crashed hard into the wall. His head struck it with full force. He blacked out on the spot. Lena could have left right then. But she still turned back to check his injury. She picked up her phone and told the driver to take Miho away. Only then did she leave. Meanwhile, Chairman Han and Damon were interrogating Sunja. Sura stayed upstairs. She was waiting for the chance to take Sunja away and hand her over to Lena. The bodyguard texted Sura to say Damon had left. She immediately told him to carry Sunja out in secret. But they ran straight into Chairman Han, who had turned back. Sura didn't dare meet her father's eyes. She only said Lena already knew Sunja was with her. If Miho found out, everything would be over. Chairman Han ordered the bodyguard to put Sunja down. The bodyguard didn't dare disobey. He had no choice but to do it. Sura said she couldn't get divorced. Chairman Han said divorce wasn't the point. He said that if Sunja's lawsuit succeeded, he would spend the rest of his life in prison. Sunja tried to run in the confusion. Damon caught her and slammed her hard to the ground. But she still forced herself back up and stared straight at Sura. Chairman Han picked up a rock from behind. He smashed it into Sunja's head. Only then did Sura see the badly injured Sunja's face. Blood had spread across the floor around her. Sunja was already dead. Then the sound of police sirens came from outside. Everyone panicked at once. Taejun arrived with the police to rescue Sunja. Chairman Han immediately ordered Sura to handle the scene. Sura covered her mouth and could only obey. By the time Taejun and the officers burst in, Chairman Han had already changed into pajamas. He pretended he had just been awakened by the noise. Taejun asked where Sunja was. Chairman Han and Damon both acted like they had never heard of her. Down in the basement, Sura was shaking. She listened to the sounds above. She stayed beside the battered body, covering her mouth as she broke down crying. The police found nothing. Then Taejun suddenly took out his phone and called Sura. A ringtone immediately sounded from the basement. Chairman Han and Damon both froze on the spot. Sura hurriedly hung up. But the ringtone had only gone off once. The police still couldn't pinpoint the location in time. Taejun stepped up to Chairman Han and demanded that he give Sunja back. He was certain she was hidden there. But without proof, all he could do was leave with the officers. The second the police were gone, Chairman Han signaled Damon. He told him to dispose of the body and erase all traces. Taejun came back and told Lena the search had failed. Lena collapsed onto the sofa the moment she heard it. Lena knew what Chairman Han and Damon had done in the past. Her mind went straight to the worst possible outcome. She also told Taejun that Miho had broken into her hidden base. Miho had seen the entire plan. But at that point, Lena had no energy left to worry about whether Miho might turn against her. All she could think about was Sunja. Down in the basement, Chairman Han beat Sura with a wooden stick. Sura knelt there and begged for mercy. Chairman Han cursed her. He said that if Sunja had gotten away, Taejun would have taken down the whole Han family in one move. Chairman Han only stopped after Damon returned. Damon reported that the body had been handled. But no matter how much Sura begged, Chairman Han still coldly ordered the door locked. Lena waited at home through the entire night. Then a sudden phone call made her jump. The number was unfamiliar. She knew at once that something was wrong. It was the police station. They asked her whether Sunja was her mother. Taejun looked at Lena after she hung up. He saw that empty, shattered expression on her face. He already knew the worst had happened. Lena looked at Sunja's bruised body. Then she slowly raised a trembling hand and touched that cold face. At last, she couldn't hold herself together anymore. She broke down sobbing in the morgue. Taejun said nothing. He could only stand beside her. Later, Sunja's belongings were gathered up and handed over to Lena. Lena opened the box and found the emergency recorder sewn into Sunja's clothes. She immediately took it back to the hidden room and connected it to the computer. The recording started. The room filled with the sounds of Sunja being badly mistreated. Lena couldn't make it even halfway through. She had to get up and brace herself against the wall. Taejun reached over and pressed play again for her. The next part completely broke her. In the recording, they said they had used the same method years ago. That was how they had disposed of Lena's mother's body. That was how Lena and Taejun finally learned the truth. Lena's mother had also been held in that same basement. The second Lena heard that, she let out a raw, broken scream. Meanwhile, Sura was locked in the basement. She was starting to lose her mind. She kept feeling like Sunja was right beside her. She even thought she could hear Lena calling her name. Her legs went weak with fear. Crying, she grabbed a hammer off the floor. Then she started smashing it against the door, screaming for help. The bodyguard heard the noise and rushed over. Sura cried that she was going to die in there. He had no choice but to let her out and call an ambulance. Before Chairman Han could find out, Sura climbed into the ambulance. She escaped the Han house. Meanwhile, Miho learned from his secretary that Sunja had died. He immediately drove to the funeral. But Lena said the people who had killed her mother were Sura, Chairman Han, Damon, and Miho too. The moment Miho heard his own name, he froze. Lena didn't say much more. She just took out her phone and played the recording. In the recording, they said they had been lucky there was a typhoon when they disposed of Lena's mother's body. That was why the truth had never come out. Only then did Miho finally learn the truth. Lena's birth mother had been killed by his father-in-law's family. But Lena gave him no chance to explain anything. She only coldly told him to go back and wait for punishment. Once he stepped outside, Miho finally remembered the memory he had buried 13 years ago. Back then, Miho hadn't been married to Sura for long. A thug bribed by Chairman Han had come to his door. He was asking for money. He was the man who had handled Lena's mother's body. He brought photos with him. He said the person who had ordered the job was Sura. Miho had gone straight home and confronted her. Sura asked what had happened. Then she asked who the woman in the photos was. That was when the truth came out. Sura had imprisoned Lena's mother and left her to die. Lena's mother had been trying to get back the company that had been stolen from her. That same company had been given to Sura by Chairman Han. It was his wedding gift to her when she married Miho. In that moment, Miho saw how cruel Sura really was. But to protect the company, he still chose to cover it up for her. That was why he had become an accomplice in Lena's mother's death. Just then, Taejun walked over, pointed at Miho, and didn't hold back. He said calling him shameless was a waste of the word. Miho tried to argue that Sunja's death had nothing to do with him. Taejun only gave him one answer. You were all on the same side from the start. Then he turned and went back to Lena, quietly trying to comfort her. Miho stood there watching and didn't move. When Miho returned home, he found Sura hiding in the house again. He had already thrown her out. The moment she called him husband, he cut her off. The instant he saw her, he recoiled in disgust. Then he went straight into the study. Sura followed him in and begged him to let her stay. He asked her directly whether the woman who died back then was Lena's mother. Sura didn't dare admit it. She only said the woman had died of illness. Miho already knew the truth. He shouted in fury. Seeing that Miho might really throw her out, Sura dropped to her knees. She said her father would beat her to death if she left the house. Only then did Miho notice the bruises on her face. Sura finally broke. She said she wasn't asking him to take her back. She only wanted to stay there, look after the child, and keep quiet. After a long standoff, Miho didn't force her out again. By staying silent, he let her stay. An assistant handed Taejun a list of interview questions from a TV station. Taejun only glanced at it once before deciding things were about to change. Not long after that, every major news station received an email from Lena. In it, she invited victims to join a joint lawsuit against LY Group. The email laid out everything the Han family had done to seize companies. The email also said Lena would step forward as the daughter of a victim. She would replace Sunja as the representative plaintiff. Meanwhile, Jaehyun in the United States still had no idea what was about to happen to him. He told his daughter he would go see her mother first, and then go see Lily. Down in the basement, Chairman Han discovered that Sura was gone. He exploded at the bodyguard for failing to watch her. The bodyguard could only bow his head and apologize. Then Damon came running in, completely flustered. He said something huge had happened. Sura was no longer the main problem. Lena had appeared. Chairman Han asked, "Who is Lena?" Damon told him she was that girl from 13 years ago. Early the next morning, the entrance to the courthouse was packed. Reporters were everywhere. Everyone was waiting for the case that could topple Korea's top chaebol family. Damon was hiding off to the side when he spotted Lena's car. He immediately ordered the bodyguard to stop her. But the media had surrounded Lena too tightly. They didn't dare make a move in public. Then Lena spotted Damon in the crowd. Her eyes turned cold. A second later, she turned and walked into the courthouse. With the media everywhere, Damon could only stand there in shock and panic. He couldn't do anything. Miho also saw the news. Lena had teamed up with the victims to sue his own company. He knew there was no turning back now. His secretary warned him that if this continued, his relationship with Lena would be exposed too. Sura sat in front of the television. She watched Lena push the case forward step by step. With a serious case hanging over her head, she didn't dare make any reckless moves. All she could do was stare at the screen. She muttered that Lena wasn't normal, that she was a monster. After the hearing ended, Lena came out of the courthouse. Damon was already outside waiting for her. Lena didn't avoid him. She got straight into her car and stared at him through the window. Then the horn suddenly blared. Damon instinctively turned his head. The second he saw Lena inside the car, he stormed toward her. He was ready to teach her a lesson. But Lena slammed her foot on the gas and drove straight at him. Damon saw the car wasn't slowing down at all. He threw himself aside just in time and dodged the first hit. But Lena immediately shifted into reverse and slammed on the gas again. This time, Damon couldn't get away. But his ankle was badly hurt. Once he could no longer stand, Lena finally got out of the car. She walked up to him. She remembered how Damon had once humiliated her father. Damon had driven her father to his death. Then she lifted her foot and stomped down on him. After that, she tossed him a business card. She told him to contact her if he wanted to talk. Just then, Jae-hyun walked over. Lena told him that for the child's sake, she would deal with this only through legal means. Then she told Jae-hyun to take the child and get out. Lying on the ground, Damon was still begging Jae-hyun to save him and call an ambulance. Only then did Jae-hyun understand who Lena really was. To help Lena get revenge, Tae-joon appeared on television as the president's chief of staff. On camera, he exposed the Han family's crimes. They had used marriage to expand their power. They had also illegally taken over Lena's father's company. Chairman Han sat in front of the screen, so furious he could barely breathe. Then the bodyguard came in with another report. The 3 lawyers handling Sura's divorce case had all backed out too. By then, Miho had locked himself inside his room. He stayed silent for a long time and wouldn't eat. After an assistant told Sura what was happening, she kept knocking on the door. There was no answer from inside. When Miho finally came out, he didn't even glance at her. He walked straight out of the house. Watching him leave, Sura became sure of one thing. He was going to find Lena. Meanwhile, Lena was in the office, dealing with the lawsuit documents. When Miho walked in, she didn't even lift her head. Miho stepped in front of her. He quietly said he was willing to compensate NF Company for all its losses. He was willing to atone for everything in the past too. He only hoped Lena would end this war that was hurting both sides. Lena asked him what pain he was talking about. Miho said his love for her had already become a transaction. And in order to survive, he could only keep hurting her. Then Miho dropped to both knees. He said he had come to ask forgiveness. He begged her to stop all of this. Only then did Lena stop what she was doing. She stood up and walked over to him. She didn't speak right away. Instead, she slowly knelt down too. Once they were both on their knees, the gesture meant nothing anymore. Lena rose back to her feet. She took off the engagement ring Miho had given her, then turned away. But the moment she stepped out of the office, the cold mask she had forced herself to wear suddenly cracked. She leaned against the wall and could barely stay standing. Tae-joon happened to come by just then. The second he saw her like that, he rushed over and held her up. At that moment, Lena saw Miho downstairs. He was stepping out of the elevator. Sura was already there waiting for him. Lena misunderstood the scene instantly. She thought Miho kneeling in front of her had only been an act. To her, it looked like something staged by a husband and wife. She had no idea why Sura was really there. Sura only wanted to pull Miho back up from the wreckage. Sura urged him to pull himself together and team up with her against Lena. She said that if the two of them stood together, they could still win. Miho only said he had one wish left now. Even if his love could never be returned, he still hoped that, in Lena's eyes, he could at least remain a good man. That sentence stopped Lena cold. Tae-joon could see it clearly. Miho's words had shaken Lena again. And once the people on Miho's side started doubting one another, everything would fall into chaos. The next day, Lena's lawyer told her the news. Miho, chairman of LY Group, would appear in court in person. Tae-joon was worried Miho was trying to pressure the court and sway the public. Lena's answer was simple. Let him come. On the day of the hearing, the courthouse entrance was already packed with reporters. Everyone kept asking why Miho had come in person. Miho said nothing and walked straight inside. Then he turned back and saw Lena getting out of her car. Lena looked at him coldly. Miho was the one who looked away first. Lena then walked straight up to the press and pulled out the NF Company contract. Then she accused 4 people, including Miho, of murder. The reporters immediately turned to Miho. They pressed him on whether he admitted to it. Lena gave him one last look. Then she turned and walked away. Every camera stayed on him, and every question was aimed at him. Meanwhile, Sura was watching it all on TV. But what caught her attention was not the murder accusation. It was the sight of Lena and Miho standing there together. Her secretary kept reminding her of one thing. Lena's side had filed murder charges against all 4 of them. Sura could not process a word of it. When Sura completely lost control, the secretary did not dare say another word. Meanwhile, doctors diagnosed Damon with a comminuted fracture. After hearing the result, he cried and begged Chairman Han to cripple Lena's leg too. Just then, a bodyguard rushed in with an update. Lena had already sued the four of them for murder. Miho had even shown up at the hearing in person. Chairman Han's expression changed at once. He immediately told someone to contact the legal team. Then he turned and left. In court, Lena and her lawyers had assumed Miho had come to stall the case. They thought he wanted to use his chaebol status to sway the judge. Instead, Miho spoke first. He said there was no need to wait for the criminal case to finish. He was willing to settle the civil damages claim first. Even the judge paused to confirm what he meant. Lena looked at Miho. He had kept his head lowered the whole time. Then she agreed to mediation. Miho's lawyer immediately warned him. If he admitted fault and offered compensation voluntarily, it would only hurt him even more later. It would work against him in the criminal case. Miho only answered that he knew the consequences. That night, Sura locked herself in the kitchen. She drank and cursed under her breath. By morning, she was still gripping the metal replica sword. The table was covered in scratch marks. The more she thought about it, the more agitated she got. She immediately called the bodyguard and demanded to know why her father still had not made a move. She went to the secret apartment. That was where she always went whenever she lost control. It was also where she met the bodyguard in private. But the moment Sura stepped inside, she saw Lena sitting in the living room. Lena was already waiting for her. Sura's expression changed instantly. She demanded to know why Lena was there and how she had gotten in. Lena answered calmly. I already know everything about you. Sura understood at once. Her relationship with the bodyguard had been exposed. She still kept shouting. She hid behind the Han family name as she threw her weight around. Then Lena threw Sura's own words back at her. The most terrifying thing is not dying right away. It is knowing that day is coming, and all you can do is wait. Sura was trembling so badly she could not say a word. Lena got up and headed out. As she passed by Sura, she looked back at her one more time. Then she left the apartment. After leaving, Lena went to see her father. She only said one thing. She would settle this debt very soon. But Lena was not done yet. Next, she had to deal with the compensation mediation hearing. Taejun was worried the hearing could still go wrong. Lena insisted this was something she had to handle herself. When the mediation hearing began, Miho was the only defendant there. He said he was willing to persuade the other defendants to admit guilt and settle. But Chairman Han's legal team pushed back immediately. They argued that Lena's evidence had been obtained illegally. Because of that, it could not be used as valid evidence. The court accepted that argument as well. If she could not produce new legal evidence, the case would likely be dismissed. So Lena decided to submit the belongings her mother had left behind. Miho found out Lena was going to the nursing home to pick up her mother's things. He offered to go with her himself. On the way there, Lena noticed that he was still wearing the old engagement ring. The moment Miho turned to look at her, she looked away. When they got to the nursing home, the staff stopped them at the door. They said Chairman Han had pressured them, claiming the belongings might not be real. That was why they had held everything back. Lena had already gotten approval from the Public Interest Law Center. But the staff still said they needed to get further instructions. So the two of them had no choice but to sit outside and wait. While they waited, Lena finally asked about the ring. Miho said he had never taken it off. Lena told him he should have taken it off the moment he learned who she really was. But Miho said that to him, the relationship had never truly ended. Lena did not continue the subject. She only reminded him that she had approached him in the first place for revenge. Meanwhile, Taejun found out Chairman Han had been pressuring people behind the scenes. So he immediately rushed to the nursing home with his assistant. The staff confirmed the pressure. Taejun knew then that they really had been threatened by Chairman Han. So he challenged them directly. When you do your job, do you follow principle or do you follow power? If the other side could use power to pressure people, then he could do the same. Taejun pushed harder, and it worked. The nursing home finally gave in. Lena got her mother's belongings back. The staff handed them over. They told her final approval had come through. There was also a USB drive inside. It held the last video her mother had left before she died. Lena first pulled out the family photo of the three of them. The moment she saw it, tears filled her eyes. Then she opened her mother's diary. That was when she finally learned what had happened to her mother. Her mother had been trying to clear Lena's father's name. Over time, she had been pushed into despair. The diary laid everything out. Lena's father's company had been taken illegally by Chairman Han and Damon. Then it had been folded into LY Group. That year, Miho had seen Lena's mother protesting outside the company building. But he still turned and walked away. Chairman Han and Damon then had people drag her away by force. After that, clearing her husband's name became the only reason Lena's mother kept going. Lena also saw the nursing home surveillance footage from back then. Miho read the diary and watched the footage. Only then did he finally understand what he had done. Back then, his silence and greed had effectively allowed the Han family to keep doing terrible things. But Lena told him an apology was nowhere near enough. Miho answered that if she really wanted him to pay for it, he would not run away. After that, Lena turned and left. Miho stood there alone. Not long after, Miho held a press conference as chairman of LY Group. He publicly exposed the truth about how LY Group had swallowed NF Company 13 years earlier. As soon as the news broke, the scandal put all eyes on Chairman Han. Chairman Han learned Miho had exposed him. He immediately went to confront him. Damon had been the one who directly carried out the takeover back then. Once his identity was exposed too, he rushed to Chairman Han for help. All he got back was furious yelling and the line going dead. Only then did Damon realize he had been completely abandoned. Meanwhile, Sura was still hiding out in Miho's house. She did not truly panic until the secretary told her the police were already at the door. That was also when she found out what Miho had revealed at the press conference. He had not only exposed LY Group's old takeover case. He had also revealed that Sura had starved Lena's mother. And he had exposed everything tied to Sunja. Even at that point, Sura still acted like she knew nothing. She told the secretary to send the police away first. But the secretary told her the police had already received an audio recording from a tip-off. That recording was the key evidence in the case. Just then, a maid suddenly walked in. Sura immediately hid the audio recording she had with her. Then she told the maid to go out and tell the police she was not home. The maid backed away in fear. With nowhere left to turn, Sura kept trying to find out where Miho was. And right then, Lena called her. Lena deliberately told her that Chairman Han was already preparing to set her up as the scapegoat. Then Lena added one more thing. Even the person who helped them deal with the body back then was going to testify at the prosecutor's office. Sura only needed to hear those few lines. The last bit of hope she had been clinging to started to crack. She needed to know whether it was true. So she immediately called the bodyguard who had always been loyal to her. She demanded to know whether her father had really betrayed her. She had no idea Lena and Taejun had arranged the entire phone call in advance. Before Junsu could even reach the apartment, Lena and Taejun had already driven over and intercepted him. Lena got out of the car. Then she dialed the private number only Sura was supposed to know, right in front of Junsu. At first, Junsu still tried to act tough. But the second he saw Taejun walking toward him, he remembered what he had done. He had once followed Sura's orders and kidnapped Lena. He broke down crying and begged for mercy. He said he had only done it because his mother was seriously ill. He desperately needed money. Taejun then used the serious charge to pressure him into cooperating. Junsu gave in quickly. He not only took Lena into the secret apartment where he and Sura had been meeting, he also handed over the key evidence tied to the Han family's underground room. After that, he followed Lena and Taejun's plan. He passed fake information to both Chairman Han and Sura. Chairman Han flew into a rage and tore up the photos. Then he grabbed an iron hammer and went looking for Sura. The moment Junsu saw that, he rushed over to protect her. Sura stormed in too, demanding answers from her father. The first thing she asked was whether Chairman Han had sold her out to save himself. Chairman Han shot back with his own question. Had she handed over the dungeon photos? Neither of them cared about anything except their own sense of betrayal. Neither one could hear a word the other was saying. Neither of them realized Lena had already led them exactly where she wanted them. Chairman Han raised the hammer and was about to swing it down. Just then, Junsu moved to save Sura. To cover everything up and protect herself, Sura dragged Chairman Han into the dungeon with Junsu's help. Junsu tried to stop her. He told her there was still time to quit. If this went any further, even he would not survive it. But Sura told him to shut up. If Chairman Han got out, she would be the first one to die. Right then, Chairman Han woke up. He suddenly lunged forward and grabbed Sura by the throat. Sura shoved him away with all her strength. Then she yelled at Junsu to lock the door. Then she locked Chairman Han inside the dungeon with her own hands. From behind the door, Chairman Han pounded on it like mad. He screamed at her to open it. Standing on the other side, Sura said she would not wait around to die the way her mother had. Junsu stood there beside her, gasping for breath. Sura turned and slapped him across the face. Then she dragged him out. She left Chairman Han alone in that dungeon and never looked back. Sura then lied to the servants to cover up her father's disappearance. Meanwhile, Miho had suddenly vanished. Secretary Cha had been searching for him. He found a message on Miho's computer. Miho had already resigned from his position as representative director. When Lena heard that, her unease grew. Then she remembered something else. Miho had already put his shares and personal assets in order ahead of time. That only deepened her unease. She immediately started looking for him. She kept calling Miho over and over, but he never answered. After that, she told Taejun what she was worried about. Then the two of them split up to search for him. Lena kept thinking about where Miho might have gone. In the end, she rushed to the church. At first, there was no one inside. She turned away in disappointment. Just then, Miho walked in from outside. Lena's eyes instantly filled with tears. She told him she had really thought something had happened to him. Hearing that, Miho stepped forward and pulled her into his arms. Meanwhile, Sura still could not find Miho. She completely lost it. She stood in front of the mirror, breaking down in tears. Then she forced herself to put her makeup back on. Then she heard that Miho and Lena were at the villa outside the city. She immediately went into her father's storage room. Then she pulled out a hunting shotgun. Meanwhile, Damon showed up limping on his injured leg. He was determined to settle the score with Chairman Han. But Sura told him her father had already cleared out the assets and fled overseas. When Damon opened the box, there were only 2 gold bars left. Sura said that if they could not get Lena, they would be left to answer for everything. Just the 2 of them. After hearing that, Damon immediately took her side. Outside the villa, the rain kept pouring down. Damon was burning with rage. He headed for the villa with one thing on his mind. Today, Lena had to be removed. Sura followed right behind him. The hunting shotgun and the metal replica sword were in the trunk of her car. Inside the villa, Miho and Lena still had no idea the danger was already closing in. Lena and Miho had just made a promise. Once this was all over, they would leave the country together. But right after that, Damon showed up. The moment Damon saw Lena with Miho, he went straight to Sura. He told her what he had seen. Sura had been waiting near the villa the whole time. She pressured Damon to make Lena disappear that very night. But Miho was still there, and Damon did not dare make a move. So Sura called Secretary Kim, who was at home. Soon after, Miho got a call from his daughter, Nancy. All he could hear was a child crying on the other end. He kept calling Nancy's name, but the line suddenly cut off. When he tried calling back, the phone was already turned off. Then Sura called him too. She pretended to panic and said Nancy was missing. She kept asking where he was. Something had happened to his daughter. The moment Miho heard that, he could not stay there any longer. He told Lena not to leave. Then he ran out of the villa to look for Nancy. But Secretary Kim had only woken Nancy up and dragged her out. After Nancy cried for a while, Secretary Kim simply left her there alone. Miho searched everywhere in the pouring rain. He called Sura over and over, but she never answered. Then he suddenly turned around. All the lights in the villa had gone out. He immediately ran back. Lena still had no idea Damon had already broken into the villa. When she turned around, she came face to face with him. The door had not been locked. He had simply walked in. Damon taunted her about how her father had begged for mercy before he died. Before he even finished speaking, he swung an iron hammer at her. Lena saw her chance and grabbed a nearby metal ornament. She slammed it hard into Damon's injured foot. He dropped to the floor right there. Before Damon could get back up, Lena struck him again. Then she picked up the hammer from the ground and swung it down at both of his legs. But Damon quickly grabbed a nearby floor lamp. He swung it hard toward her. Then he lunged at Lena. He attacked her. Lena fought as hard as she could, but her strength kept fading. Right then, Miho finally made it back. He grabbed the hammer and brought it down on the back of Damon's head. Damon kept begging for mercy. But Miho did not stop. Lena finally caught her breath and stepped forward to stop him. Only then did Miho stop. Miho looked at Damon on the floor. Then he looked at the badly injured his own hands. Only then did he realize what he had done. He had done something irreversible. Lena still had not recovered from the attack. Miho handed her a cup of hot water. He kept saying he would turn himself in. He told her to stay out of it. But Lena refused to let him take all the blame alone. She got up and tried to grab his phone. She was going to tell the police everything herself. Then her vision went black. She collapsed into Miho's arms and fell unconscious. Miho had put something in the water. He had done it while she wasn't paying attention. At daybreak, Sura was still outside the villa. She still could not reach Damon. But before Sura could do anything, Taejun arrived. The second Taejun walked in, he saw Damon on the floor. He knew right away this was serious. But Miho had calmed down by then. He asked Taejun to call the police for him. He also asked Taejun to take care of Lena, who was still unconscious. Taejun reminded Miho that Damon had broken into the villa. They could argue it was self-defense. Soon after that, the police arrived. That was when Sura finally found out the dead man was Damon. She was still in shock when another call came in. This time, it was from the group's legal department. They told her the divorce ruling had already come through. The house now belonged to Miho, and she had to move out immediately. The prenup was also being enforced. Sura had to return the shares and give up custody. All of it hit Sura at once and threw her completely off balance. She went home and stood in front of the mirror. She rubbed at her face and tugged at her skin. Then she smeared makeup all over herself. She was already close to losing control. And even then, the only person still on her mind was Miho. While all this was happening, Sura and her bodyguard still had Chairman Han locked in the basement. He was starving and barely hanging on. When Miho and Taejun returned to the villa, Lena was gone. She had been lying unconscious on the sofa. Now she had vanished. They understood at once. Sura had most likely taken her. Taejun immediately told his assistant to pull the surveillance footage from around the villa. Miho turned and rushed out to find Lena. And they were right. Sura had taken her away. Sura screamed as she drove, completely out of control. She was determined to make Lena disappear. Miho caught up quickly and shouted through the car window for Sura to stop. But Sura threatened him instead. If he kept following them, Lena would die. But Sura did not know Lena had already worked her hands free. While Sura focused on the road, Lena lunged from the back seat. She locked her arm around Sura's neck. The car immediately went out of control. It slammed into the roadside. After the crash, Sura grabbed a long sword from beside the seat. She stabbed at Lena. Lena fought back with everything she had, but she was still stabbed. Even through the pain, Lena told Sura that no matter what she did, she would never win. That sent Sura into a blind rage. She raised the weapon to stab Lena again. But this time, Miho rushed into the car and stopped her. Taejun arrived right after him. Miho told Taejun to get Lena out first. Taejun pulled Lena away from the car. The moment she was out, Miho locked the doors. He trapped himself inside with Sura. Sura realized something was wrong. She started screaming. Miho did not open the door again. He only said one thing. "I'm sorry." Then he turned to Taejun, silently telling him to take care of Lena. Lena seemed to understand all at once. She shook her head desperately. But it was already too late. The next second, Miho stepped on the gas. He drove the car over the edge with Sura inside. Just before the car went over, he touched the ring on his hand. Then he looked at Lena one last time. Lena watched the car disappear over the edge. She broke down on the spot. Taejun stepped forward and pulled her into his arms. He held her there. After Lena handed over the key evidence, prosecutors searched Chairman Han's home. All this time, Sura and the bodyguard had been claiming that Chairman Han had fled overseas. But prosecutors found his passport still inside the house. Chairman Han had never left at all. He had been locked inside his own underground cell the whole time. After the crash, grief overwhelmed Lena. She remained unconscious for 3 full days. When she finally woke up, the first thing she said was that she had to save Miho. But Taejun could only tell her the truth. Miho was gone by the time help arrived. Miho had asked that there be no funeral. He was cremated right away. Junsu then told Lena and Taejun everything he knew about what had happened. Lena told Junsu to go testify in court and try to atone for what he had done. Before turning himself in, Junsu made one last request. He wanted to see Sura one more time. Sura had survived the crash. But her mind had completely broken down, and her memory was gone. The doctor warned that if her memory ever came back, she might not be able to handle it. Even so, Lena still walked into Sura's hospital room. She closed the door behind her. Sura still thought Lena was just an employee at the group. Lena held up a mirror. She made Sura look at her disfigured face. Then Lena told Sura the truth piece by piece. She told Sura about Miho's death and what really happened in that car crash. The second the memories came back, Sura fell apart completely. When the hospital staff heard the commotion, they rushed in and pinned her down. Lena did nothing more. She just left Sura there with the truth. Lena left Sura to face her ruined reflection in the mirror and Miho's death on her own. Soon after, Junsu testified in court. He exposed every crime the Han family had committed. He admitted that he had been involved in the kidnapping and the threats. He also admitted that he had stabbed Tae-jun before. After that, police went to the underground cell at the Han family villa. Inside, they found Chairman Han's body. The floor was covered with scratch marks left by his desperate struggle. Even in death, his eyes were still open. Lena later went back to the cliff where Miho had fallen. As she thought about everything they had been through, she still could not hold back her tears. Tae-jun stayed beside her in silence. After the case finally ended, Lena, now the group's largest shareholder, made an announcement. She would compensate the past victims and set up a foundation for them. Once all of that was done, she returned to the secret place she and Miho had once shared. Looking at the empty room, Lena thought about the time they had shared there. Before leaving, she packed her things. She took the bandoneon Miho had left behind. Then she went alone to the birthplace of tango. It was the place they had once promised to visit together. The clerk asked who she was traveling with. Lena only said, "The person who was supposed to come with me can't come anymore." Tae-jun stayed behind to deal with work. But no matter what he did, he could not forget Lena. He kept thinking about the day Lena had come to his house before leaving. Back then, he had asked if she had a round-trip ticket. Lena said no. It was one way. She did not even know whether she wanted to come back. Then she said maybe she would come back after all. Sooner or later, she would. Later, Tae-jun found out Lena had gone to the birthplace of tango. In the end, he decided to resign from his job as presidential chief of staff and go find her. In a tango bar overseas, Lena played the melody she and Miho had once performed together. Inside the tango sheet music book, she found a handwritten letter Miho had left for her. After reading it, Lena finally let go of the weight she had been carrying. With Miho's memory still with her, she started over.